I've started the recording again. Right, let's do this. Let's go back. I'm just going to go through the intro.
Right.
Let's get
as long as it takes, we'll get it done.
I know. So for those of you watching this video back, we just failed a live stream. It crashed on us, and then I tried recording, and then I didn't unmute my mic. So this is the third and final attempt. If anything goes wrong now, I'm not doing this. So, but anyway, I'm here with Sick Triceratops. His channel link is in the description down below, and also a link to this video will be in the description down below. This is a video by CBR. I guess that's comic book reviews.
Constant bit rate.
Constant bit rate, yep. And they made a video a week ago called The Complete Jurassic Park Timeline Explained, and we're just going to watch it. We both haven't seen it past the 1 minute mark, mind you. And we're just going to say our thoughts on it. So anyway, let's get past the minute mark again.
Third time's the charm.
Exactly. Here we go.
When the first Jurassic
Park movie
came out, it was a huge deal. And 3 decades later, it's clear Universal Studios has spared no expense investing in the franchise. We have come a long way since watching scientists get elbow deep in dino dung, and it's time to take a look.
Paul Kirby's not a scientist. I just want to say that was habit, me muting my mic. Because like whenever I finish a live stream, I just instantly go and mute my mic just in case I've not stopped the live stream and people just hear me stand up and go. I'm like,
better to be safe, yeah.
Right. But anyway,
look back at how the series has progressed over the years. Yes, we're going to take you back to the past with a look at the Jurassic Park timeline. From the glory of Jeff Goldblum to Chris Pratt commanding a pack of raptors, it's been a long, strange, dino-filled journey.
There's that intro again.
Oh, God.
I think the intro's cursed.
Constant bit rate. YouTube channel.
Universal Pictures was so set on bringing Jurassic Park to the big screen that they bought the movie rights before Michael Crichton even had a chance to publish the first book. Yes, there are a series of Jurassic Park novels, and while they are so worth a read, we are going to be focusing on the cinematic side of the franchise. And you know what that means? We're going back to the beginning with the very first Jurassic Park from 1993. In 1525, Spanish navigator Diego Fernandez discovered...
That's not Diego Fernandez, that's a mirrored image shot of Robert Muldoon. Just to be specific.
Oh, yeah. What was I trying to do there?
I guess it's like the monetization thing. I mean, in this video, I've got it like behind the fence, the Jurassic Park fence and everything to try and just be like, wait,
right.
Don't copyright this video. But if they do, don't they? It's footage. But yeah, this is not Diego Fernandez.
So is that date right then? That's the right date, isn't it?
Yeah, 1525. It was a date that we just arbitrarily came up with to be like, that sounds like a far enough back date to explain when the islands were first discovered. And I can't remember the reason. I think Tim named the explorer when we were writing the backstory. But,
it sounds good, it sounds good.
Yeah, and then I think I made a map and there's some details on there that on the map in Spanish is written the land that time forgot. Like in Spanish on the old map. Which is on the Masrani website.
Saw, you made it look all burnt and ancient, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean that image now I don't like. It's like one of those things where you look back on it and go, God, there's some things I could do to that to make it look better. But it is what it is. I did originally print it out and coffee stain stuff and do all that sort of stuff to take a picture of it.
Nice.
But no, 1525 is the actual is the date that we picked. So he's a new blood. It's been around for some time.
So he's got that right then, so far. So far, so good.
So far, so good.
An island known as Isla Nublar, later called Cloud Island by Nicolas de Huelva. A few quick centuries later, wealthy businessman John Hammond purchased Isla Nublar and used it to create a theme park called Jurassic Park.
There is a mistake there.
Ooh.
He leased it. He didn't purchase it.
That's right. He says that in the film, doesn't
he?
Yeah,
you don't even need to read what we wrote. He says it in the movie. He does say, I own an island, but then he says, I leased it from the government. And leases last like 99 years when you like buy a house. So it's like we just use that model. So like he's got the island for 99 years. So.
Hey, that's the name of the movie! Although he spared no expense on the snazzy painted jeeps and mouth-watering food spread, he did...
Fun fact, those jeeps have those red lines to stop dinosaurs ramming the vehicles. It's like...
Yeah, I remember that. That. That's in the book, isn't it? It's like it's to stop like trikes charging. It's sort of... It messes with the reds or something. They're like, whoa.
But I don't know if they're red in the book, are they? I think they might be blue in the book.
Is it? Yeah, it's blue, I think. I think it's blue. I'm just... You can probably cut this out, but I need to let my dog out. She's just whining because.
No, by all means, do it.
Is that all right? Right, 2 seconds.
Yeah, do it.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Well, sorry, I was just looking at the comments under this video. There are a lot of people saying like, "It's not complete. You should do this after the next movie."
Yeah, you would have thought that just to get the full. Well, if it is going to be the last film, whatever, get that one in.
It's because he's titled the video "The Complete Jurassic Park Timeline Explained," but everyone's saying like it should say "The Jurassic Park Timeline Explained so far."
So far, yeah.
And another thing, I tried to look up what CBR stands for. What it actually stands for, and I can't seem to find it. So I'll have to dig. I reckon it's comic book reviews or something.
Comic books, something, won't it? Yeah.
Anyway, here we go.
Apparently skimp a little bit on the background checks for his employees. He'd learned the ins and outs of the park business by helping to run a park called Animal Kingdom in Kenya. But he and his company InGen weren't quite ready to scale up from mammals to dinosaurs.
Nice walking with dinosaur Gorgosaurus, I think that's called.
His original idea was to build a park in San Diego, but he decided maybe it would be safer to unleash ancient lizards.
Don't forget to subscribe, guys.
Subscribe to CBR.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe.
A little bit farther away from large populations.
And hit that notification bell and click the like.
Hammond was able to fill his park with living, breathing dinosaurs thanks to extracting DNA stored inside mosquitoes encased in ancient amber. Sure, there were a few missing genomes here and there, but nothing a little bit of frog DNA couldn't fix. Scientists genetically engineered all of the dinos to be female in order to carefully control their breeding. But in the immortal words of Jeff Goldblum, life finds a way. Hammond decided to invite a group of professionals to his park to check out the place.
Don't you love that bit in the first film where Wu just looks directly at the camera? I need to like pause on that.
Yeah.
Oh, I nearly got him. Where is he? Let me.
Life finds a way.
Hammond
decided to invite a group of.
Oh, I nearly got it. I'm gonna get it.
Decided to invite a group of.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing something totally different here. Man's not skipping backwards.
I think it'll catch up once I stop messing around.
Right.
You know what? What are you looking at now? Is it Wu like scribbling down?
It's a big T-Rex logo.
Oh.
Professionals to his park to check out the place before the grand opening. These included
Oh, are you not seeing Grant in the helicopter?
No, man's not. Man hasn't skipped back. It just keep pausing and unpausing. So I'm a bit further ahead. I don't know why it's doing that.
Oh, okay.
Technical issues.
Paleontologist Dr. Alan Grant, paleobotanist Dr. finds a way. Couldn't fix. Scientists genetically
engineered you've skipped
all of the dinos.
Yeah, you've skipped it back for me. So let's just carry on.
But in the immortal words of Jeff Goldblum, life.
But yeah, he looks right at the camera.
Hammond decided to invite a group of.
There it is.
Yeah.
Check out the place before the grand opening. These included paleontologist Dr. Alan Grant, paleobotanist Dr. Ellie Sattler, and mathematician Dr. Ian Malcolm. You probably don't need to be a master mathematician to see that dinosaurs plus humans equals disaster. Hammond also invited his 2 grandkids, presumably because he wanted to make their other grandparents look lame for not having a park filled with dinosaurs. All this would have been fine and dandy if not for computer programmer Dennis Nedry. Nedry decided to...
So, he's like peppering jokes in amongst all this, but that will confuse younger audience members, I think. If there's like really young kids, kids take things to heart sometimes. So when he says like John Hammond makes a park to make the other grandparents
to
look
make
like
the grandparents. Yeah.
kids might be like,
someone's gonna go, huh?
yeah, right.
Did it for that reason.
Yeah. Even though that's just a joke. Like, I think the majority of people will understand that as a joke, but there will be those really young kids who, because this video is definitely tailored to be family friendly, who might see this and be like,
oh, absolutely. You can tell by the voice he's putting on.
yeah. Hey, welcome to the video.
Sounds like fucking Pee Wee Herman.
Steal some dinosaur embryos and flip them for some fast cash to a rival corporation. Thanks to the perfect storm of Nedry's treachery and, well, an actual storm, the park's fail-safes start to fail and dinosaurs start running amok. Seriously.
Wait, did he just say the storm caused the dinosaur?
Said the storm. The storm has nothing to do with anything going wrong.
I've just rewound it a little bit. Is it rewound for you?
Yeah, it looks like it. It's Nedry with his cups touching his face.
Okay, yep. All right, I'm going to press play now.
The park's fail-safes start to fail and dinosaurs start running amok.
Sorry, I need to go back. I need to double check that he definitely said
Thanks
that.
to the perfect storm of Nedry's treachery and, well, an actual storm, the park's fail-safes start to...
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah. That's fake news. Fake news, everyone. Storm doesn't do anything. Well, actually, the storm causes Nedry's death. Does it actually do anything else, though?
I don't think it does. Let's work it out.
Yeah, let's go through this.
The storm is almost like it's not outward. Like they kind of expect that from where they are. Like he says, Muldoon says something about see if it swings south like the last one. So they're prepared for storms.
Yeah,
and then of course the all the workers go home on the shuttle, but that's nothing.
That's nothing to do with the storm. Yeah,
that was just happening anyway, which I think is where some of the confusion comes from. Because it's like, oh, everyone has to leave because the storm's coming. But that announcement, Ray Arnold makes that announcement before they know the storm's coming. So it's just something that happens regularly anyway.
Yeah.
But in terms of Nedry...
I think its only actual effect on the plot is it causes Nedry to slip and slide about in his Jeep. Thus, he crashes, and that's what causes him to get eaten by the Dilophosaurus, essentially. But he shouldn't have been out there in the first place anyway. But...
yeah, so it doesn't really cause it, but it kind of makes the problem a bit worse for Nedry, certainly.
But I don't think it affects anyone else, really, does it?
Not that I can think of, no.
Obviously, in real life, it affected the crew, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Fail and dinosaurs start running amok. Seriously, Phil, you had one job. The kitchen was soon filled with velociraptors, the bathroom was invaded by an angry T-Rex, and Hammond's grandkids definitely wished they'd hung out with their grandparents who don't own a dinosaur-filled theme park. Even Nedry doesn't manage to escape.
See, now he's doubled down on that joke, so now it really sounds like he's saying
that's... It sounds like a fact or something, doesn't it? Like part of the story. But it's not. It's just a lame joke.
Yeah, it's not the best
and
joke.
Also mentioning Phil Tippett, like something that's out, like that's like a meta thing, but he's mentioning it like it happens within the film.
I think,
when he said Phil.
Yeah, if you don't know the Phil Tippett meme, then that's going to be lost on you because it's like it's a very, very specific meme. Because you need to know who Phil is. If he said Phil Tippett, it might have like narrowed it down a little bit.
And he said it while showing an image of Ray Arnold, so it's like, is that Phil? I don't know. Like, if someone doesn't know.
Is that Phil? I don't know. God, what I wouldn't give to not know who Ray Arnold was. Just to watch the film over again.
Escape a messy end after getting too close to one of these creatures. Ultimately, all the survivors unanimously decide not to endorse Jurassic Park. Mostly because of the aforementioned rampaging dinosaurs. Everyone who wasn't messily devoured left the island via helicopter to escape to the safety of the mainland. It turns out that all the money in the world doesn't make resurrecting ancient beasts a good idea. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but that's not a lesson most of the people in this universe ever learn. Before we move on to the next film in the franchise, it's
my word,
Jurassic Park the game. There are a few different video games in the franchise, but this one involves a group of survivors during and after the events of the first Jurassic Park movie, so it's worth mentioning in the context of the timeline. But let's move on to the next feature-length film.
Oh, okay, nice little nod there.
Up Up next, we have The Lost World Jurassic Park, which was loosely based on Crichton's novel, The Lost World. It takes place 4 years after the previous.
Okay, so he's showing an image of 2 dinosaurs that aren't even in The Lost World, aside from...
That's what... And a Apatosaurus and what's that one?
The Sick. But the Apatosaurus bones are in The Lost World. But
that's right, yeah.
But you need a souvenir magazine to know that information. Like, if you watch the film, they don't have like Apatosaurus written on the bones or anything. Right? So it's like, why is he showing these 2 images? That makes no sense.
Film, and apparently the whole dinosaur rampage really mucked things up for Hammond and the InGen company overall. There had been talk of blowing up the old Jurassic Park, but the US Army apparently never got around to it. There was a second island, originally InGen's factory floor, so to speak, where they cloned and raised the dinosaurs, but thanks to some natural disasters...
Hey, just a bit of my headcanon here. I like to actually consider the baryonyx that we see come through the pipe in Fallen Kingdom as one of the old clones from Site B. But because it looks so reptilian and old school, like it doesn't look like what a baryonyx really would be. It looks really old school. So that's my headcanon. That's not signed off by Universal, everyone, so don't go thinking that's legit, but that's just the way I envision it.
That sounds good to me.
Same with like the Carnotaurus that has like the missing horn that like tries to eat Mills with the T-Rex at the end. Like, it looks, anything that looks old, I'm like, okay, you've seen some years.
It's been like living on sauna.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's obviously you can just chalk it off to like they've grown at Jurassic World and they've just had some fights and stuff there. But like in my own head canon, I'm like, nah. Look at that. Look at that baryonyx. How old school that looks. Like that's an InGen clone. That is.
Site B just ended up with a bunch of wild dinos. At least the dinosaurs were confined to an island, which would have been helpful if humans had managed to stay away. Things definitely don't get any better when there's an attack by a pack of Compsognathus on a hapless yacht passenger who had the bad luck of landing on Site B, Isla Sorna. By this point, InGen was being run by Hammond's nephew, Peter Ludlow, and not everyone was convinced he was the best at his job.
I'm going to be a bit nitpicky here. He said at this point, InGen was being run by Peter Ludlow. It wasn't. It was the incident with the compy that caused Peter Ludlow to convince the board to oust Hammond and put him in place. So that's a little bit of technical wording that he's got wrong there. He's saying like, at that point in time, Ludlow was running InGen. It's like, no, it's because of that Ludlow ran.
Literally because of this incident.
Dr. Ian Malcolm was still pretty upset about what he went through in the first movie, but decided to help InGen document the dinosaurs of Isla Sorna.
Oh, just to go, I know people who watch my channel would see this from the last video I uploaded, but you know this whole Nick Van Owen coming in scene? I don't know if you can see that on your side of the things.
Yeah, coming out the van, yeah.
Yeah, so I placed this by looking at the number plate on his van as being in New York. Now, I have always assumed that this was in San Diego, like on a water, like near the boats, so they can get to Isla Sorna. There's just something that was in my head, and luckily we never wrote it to canon or anything. So it's like, I had no idea that this was actually in New York where they're building these things, which makes sense. But also, it just boggles my mind that they had to transport the mobile lab and the cars across mainland America to get to the other side, rather than building them closer to where they need to be.
Yeah, that's a lot of kit, isn't it, to move right across the country, like the trailers and everything. Or where did they go, like through the Panama Canal or something like that?
And it's also like, if we're going to think realistically about this, like Ian Malcolm is pushing their schedule up by like what was it? When did Hammond say they leave in 3 days or something? And then he's like, no, we're leaving right now. It's like, I guess, did Malcolm actually wait for the schedule to come in, or did he push it ahead? Because if he had to push it ahead, then that would have cost Hammond extra to get the shipping to get this across. But I guess people don't think about that sort of shit, except me. But no, I just always assumed this was in sort of the San Diego, or not necessarily San Diego. That's because that's the end of the film, but like somewhere down near nearer Costa Rica than New York.
Yeah, that's right. I guess I'm going to be honest. I never really thought about it, but yeah, I think I probably would have guessed. Seeing as he was just in New York or wherever, seeing Hammond. So Hammond's place is in New York, isn't it? Yeah, because it's on the subway.
Mm-hmm.
I think I probably would have just gone, oh yeah, it's in New York, and like, I guess almost like the light, like in this frame that I'm looking at now, the van and what they're wearing. It's got a very New York kind of like.
Oh yeah, I guess with like Nick Van
rusty
Ernst
kind of look to it. I know that's just me thinking that, but
yeah, he's got his flap cap on, and
it's not very California East West Coasty kind of.
No, I guess,
suppose,
yeah. But it's just one of those things where like you learn something, and then it just like you're like, why did I assume that all these years? Like that was just, it's like you never challenge it because there's no reason to. But then it was the other day I was trying to place where all the intros locations are, and then I found the number plate. And I was like, that's in New York. I was like, wow, I never even knew that. That's like the same with Alan and Ellie. Ellie's house in Jurassic Park 3 is in Washington DC.
Yeah.
And that is also where Grant gives his lecture because there's a big Washington state flag on the stage. So, yeah.
How about that?
And that also, again, makes sense because of Mark Degler, Ellie's husband in Jurassic Park 3. He works for the State Department and he works in the government, essentially. So it makes sense he's in DC.
You need to be in that hub of government and all that.
Which is probably also why they were managed to get the Navy there so quick. So,
yeah.
Through in the first movie, but decided to help InGen document the dinosaurs of Isla Sorna since his girlfriend Dr. Sarah Harding had already gone ahead to the island. Love and dinosaurs are both excellent motivators, and on his journey, Ian discovered that his daughter Kelly stowed away on their mobile base, just to make the stakes a little bit higher. Surely she'll have a much better time than those other kids who tagged along on a dinosaur adventure. Apparently, Ludlow didn't learn a single thing from the events of the previous movie because his plan all along was to round up the dinos and transport them to a theme park in San Diego. Hammond's last plan hadn't failed spectacularly enough, so he was going to resurrect his idea for a Jurassic Park San Diego. The group released...
I just want to also point out everything he's saying is fair enough. That boardroom, I'm trying to get the board scene. I don't know if you can see this. We've got Ludlow on screen, and then we've got the board members. You can just see them to the left of the screen here.
Yeah, on the like satellite link or whatever.
I've always wondered what those guys saw on the other side of the screen. Like if they were there and Ludlow was like, and it'll be up and running in less than a month, and then they hear like like this dinosaur go, and then the camera, and then it all just goes to static. Yep, and then they're just like
just sitting there like
well, I guess they're fine. Yeah, I guess they're fine. No need to send a rescue team. I bet they'll make the call. It's like you'd think they'd be like, our new CEO, who we've literally just appointed, has gone to the island and is most likely dead. Perhaps we should send a rescue team to go see if they're all right, because this is literally the future of the company. We're investors in this company. But nope, it has to be Ludlow and everyone else who makes the trek across to make the call. Like they all sit on their ass back in the office like, I guess they're fine, you know.
Yeah, like even if the feed just cut out, like they didn't see the dinosaurs or the chaos or any noise. If it was just like the feed just died, you'd still think, oh, maybe we should send them an email, maybe, or like there's just no contact.
Yeah, but the thing was like that. In my mind, the way it's set up, it doesn't look like it would just cut out instantly, though. I agree with you. Like even if it cut out, they would like enact some sort of rescue to go check on them. Yeah. Especially or contact the boat that's just offshore somewhere and be like, you know, maybe you should check on those guys. But like the Triceratops smashes through the tent and then it hits the car with the thing. So there is like a few seconds. Yeah, there's a few seconds of footage that they would get that would just have some crazy sounds going. You know, Ludlow squealing like a pig.
It's like I like to imagine that it's some kind of white collar, like they were happy that he was out of the picture, so someone else could step up, take over the company. They're all just cold corporate people who were just like, yeah, see you later, Ludlow. None of them liked him anyway.
They voted him out as soon as they thought he was dead. He was gone.
Yeah, they were like straight to work. Like, right, I nominate myself as the next InGen CEO.
Yeah, who's next in line?
All in favour.
Hello, Regis. How are you doing? Yes, you're next in line, are you? Okay, come.
Some captured dinosaurs, but instead of being grateful for their freedom, they started going wild on the camp. They got up close and personal with a baby T-Rex, but that was a lot less fun when its parents came looking.
I'm also just going to stay. Are you seeing Sarah with the T-Rex just to make sure we're synced up here? Yeah, cool. So it's really weird seeing all these images mirrored. Like, it's like watching a different movie. I'm like looking at the shots. I'm like, wait, which shot's this? Oh, yeah.
Because that looks like it's on the other side of the trailer, isn't it?
Yeah. It was like the Parasaurolophus lifting up and going the opposite way to how my brain usually is registering it going. It's like kind of throwing me off. So I had to make a point about it.
Malcolm and Harding tried their best to convince Ludlow that his plan was more lethal than lucrative, but they didn't have much success. When a ship carrying a male T-Rex crashed, this really helped drive home their point, especially since it started running amok in the city. But unlike his uncle, Ludlow's apparently a slow learner because he didn't see the problem until he was devoured by a father and son T-Rex team. Both dinosaurs were shipped back to Isla Sorna, and the American and Costa Rican governments declared the area a natural preserve. That's a funny way of saying crawling with dangerous giant lizards, but whatever works. The government passed the...
Just want to say right there, they're not actually lizards, either the birds or something like that.
They're reptiles, yeah. So it's like lizards. Lizards is a species of reptile. It's not the other way around.
More accurate terminology, so...
Ethical negligence with the paleogenetic resurrection bill, which basically makes Hammond's life work very, very illegal, he sadly passed away. Probably due to the lack of dinosaurs he was experiencing. After that, Simon Masrani bought out InGen to create Jurassic World, and almost immediately started performing experiments that showed he learned nothing from the first two movies. Before we get too involved in the machinations of Simon Masrani and the dino disasters to come, let's take a look at Jurassic Park 3. This movie represents another full-year time skip, bringing us to the year 2001 on the lovely Isla Sorna. Well, lovely except for all the dinosaurs that are very, very much still alive. Dr. Alan Grant is back in the mix from the first movie, and apparently he's still very much into studying dinosaurs, albeit from a respectable distance this time. He was trying to fund his study about the intelligence of velociraptors, but found it difficult to find investors. Apparently, narrowly escaping an island filled with prehistoric creatures doesn't get you any grant money. He has some...
So he falls for the same trick twice, is what he's just admitted there, which is true.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, in Jurassic Park 3, he's like, we'll fly over the island, so we're not going to land. But Grant was stupid enough to even think that was not going to be an issue. Like, yes, okay. Next time, they'll be like, look, you can look at the island through this telescope. Grant, we'll pay you from this mainland. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he goes up to the telescope and he peers through. And as he peers through, it's like a comic book or like a cartoon, he sees the island off in the distance. He's like, well, I can't really identify some dinosaurs from this distance. And then a blurry image pops in between the telescope and the island, and he looks up and there's a dinosaur on the mainland right next to him, and he's like, oh god,
it happened again.
Yeah, third time.
He still doesn't get paid at the end of it.
Exactly.
Some lofty ideas about these dinos, including...
Because I like the whole Alan Grant wants to become an astronaut from an astronomer angle. Like, that he wants to... He actually does want to study what InGen created for his own, personal interest and curiosity and scientific research. But what I just don't like is the motivation to get him to the island again. Like, I've always said, I wish they'd just gone the entire kidnap angle if they were going to do it. Like, just have the Kirbys get Cooper, knock him out at the bar. Like, he refuses to take the check, and then he's out in the car park and gets knocked over the head. And so does Billy, and then they wake up and they're on the island. Like, you don't even get the whole dun 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 going to the island. Like, you hard cut and they're already on the island. It's like, and then he's like, oh my god.
I think anything would be an improvement over the JP3 we got, frankly. like,
savage. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it could work because he's definitely always had that, like you say, he calls them theme park monsters, and they're not the real deal. But yeah, as soon as he lays eyes on him, he's like falls in love all over again.
Well, that's the thing. I've always seen the like theme park monsters thing. It's not so much. It is a literal description of what they are, but also I think he's saying that to put people off from going there. Like that's for me, Jurassic Park 3 is always. It's a story literally about people who try to see the dinosaurs when they legally shouldn't, because there's that whole little dinosaur. Like, that's why right at the beginning of the film, he's looking out for planes with the binoculars. Like, they know they shouldn't be doing this. And because of that, that's what causes the entire plot of the film to happen. So I've always seen Grant saying to the kids who will put their hands up to be like, they're monsters, genetically engineered theme park monsters, they're not dinosaurs. As him sort of like going... Don't be curious about them, but they always are, you know.
Yeah, forget about them, but it's like you can't.
Exactly.
Including that if they hadn't gone extinct, they would have become the dominant species on Earth instead of humans. So basically, it sounds like he was picturing the infamously terrible Mario Brothers movie, complete with raptor head Goombas. Anyway, Paul and Amanda Kirby posed as a...
So if this is aimed at like younger audiences, did you think they're going to get that reference? The Super Mario Brothers movie.
No.
Wealthy couple interested in funding his research, but in reality, they just wanted Dr. Grant's help to rescue their son who went missing on Isla Sorna, as well as Amanda's boyfriend who they also managed to lose track of. Dr. Grant may have had some strange ideas about dinosaurs, but he was slightly less eager to meet his own end than apparently everyone else in the franchise. He reluctantly agreed to give them an aerial tour in exchange for some of that...
Do you wish that Eric Kirby was a little bit more like Newt in Aliens? Like, a little bit more shook up?
Yeah, he's awfully cool about his whole experience, isn't he? Like, he's...
Because
that might...
You're gone?
I was just going to say that might have sold it a bit more, that it was like an ordeal. Like, he doesn't really seem that bothered.
No.
But if he was like Newt, yeah, that probably would have been a bit better, I suppose.
Because Newt is competent. She does things like she knows her way around the complex and all this, and she uses her skills a bit where she's been on her own to get out of situations, but she's also completely traumatized by the event when they first meet her, and it takes her a while to come round, you know. So it's like, Eric, though, he comes straight out of the bat, rescues Alan Grant, and he's like, hey, how you doing? Yep, got my T-Rex P. He's like, you're Dr. Alan Grant, I read your book. It's like, Jesus, kid, are you okay? You malnourished? Like, do you need water? Like, how have you been drinking water? Like, all this sort of stuff. In the Jurassic Park Adventure books that were released for the Universal Studios, I think, like, the first one is Eric's account of his time on the island, and it's a lot more traumatic. He like describes it more as like he felt like he was becoming one with the island. But not like, but like, if I remember correctly, it's things like he's going to eventually be eaten by the island, and he's trying to come over that idea of like becoming part of the island rather than getting off, and then he starts to see it as like his home. Like, he doesn't see it. At first, it terrifies him, and he's like running around scared shitless. But like by the end, like he almost is fond of it. But then then the next two books, like, Grant sets up a research station on Site B on the beach to then study the dinosaurs. Like, he goes full astronaut, and he doesn't want Eric there because Eric's like this celebrity who's off in the world, like doing book signings, and everyone knows who he is because he survived on the island. But Eric sneaks to the island and then wants to go basically out in the jungle. Like, he wants to research the dinosaurs with Grant, but Grant says no when he finds him. And then a group of kids they go to the island to film a documentary, like a kind of, you know, bunch of kids, as you know they hire planes, and they end up crash landing on the island, and Grant has to go out and rescue them. But Eric goes out before him, and Eric's out on the island trying to rescue these kids himself because he thinks he can do it. And Grant's like got this like thing with Eric where he's constantly telling him like, you need to let go of this island and all this sort of stuff. Like, it's much more interesting than what is actually in the film.
That sounds pretty cool.
But the books are aimed at kids, and it's not like the books are really gritty. I think one kid does die in the second book, but like they actually have the balls to do it, or like a teenager, should I say? But yeah, it's I've always felt like that Eric's not damaged enough in the film. Like
that stuff about like he wants to become part of the island and all that. That's like it's got a psychological side to it. That's quite cool. It's like Apocalypse Now, something like that.
Well, you're saying like I think there's lines. It's been like a year or so, maybe 2 years since I read it, but like I swear there's things like him saying that like he's forgetting who he was, and you know this is becoming more the norm and all this sort of stuff, and he's like learning to adapt to the island, and then he talks about that sort of stuff.
He's like, I don't want to leave. Why should I leave?
But it's also
that stuff sounds cool.
Well, and it's also interesting because the first book of these 3 books they released is actually written in first person. It's written as you're meant to be holding the book that Eric Kirby released, and
right, so it's like a diary.
Yeah, and it also means that creative liberties by Eric can be taken. So like you don't know what's real or what's not really. You can look at it both ways. Like they have iguanodons. He's like he makes friends with like this baby iguanodon at one point. He names it, I think, and it's like there were no iguanodons on Site B, as far as we know. It's like
so it's like an unreliable narrator type situation.
Yeah, but it does shed light onto like how he got the idea for T-Rex P and where he got the raptor claw from and the gas grenades and you know all that sort of shit.
Sweet research money. But instead, he found himself once more on dino-covered ground. He discovered the truth about the Kirbys and...
Oh, sorry, just to pause again. It'll take us forever. That scene where they run through the grass. You got these giant volcanic rocks. Some people overlook this.
I always thought it was like piles of like dino dung. I mean, looking at them there, you can see that they're more round, but like,
yeah, I think they're actually.
Yeah, I just thought it was.
Yeah, I think they are actually meant to be like volcanic rocks. They're like black rocks, right? I believe.
That's cool because obviously it backs up Mount Sabo and all that stuff, doesn't it? Later on.
Yeah, well, this is on Site B, and Site B obviously they say Hammond ran everything on geothermal power, so there is.
You
know that sort of stuff there. Yeah, I think a lot of people it's a little detail that obviously they don't focus on, but it is there. You know,
that's cool.
Anyway, what are we looking at? We're looking at Grant now. Did you back it up?
More about this particular research money, but instead he found himself once more on dino-covered ground.
You can see that the big rocks.
And they learned that he didn't know anything more about this particular island than they did. Apparently, they managed to get the only 2 islands with dinosaurs on them mixed up, but that was really the least of their problems. Unsurprisingly, the group was attacked by hostile dinosaurs, and at one point they made the horrible decision to take some raptor eggs. Definitely no chance anyone would come looking for those. Needless to say, this only made matters worse, but eventually the survivors managed to make it off the island. They realized that dinosaurs were being bred illegally there, but this information was covered up by a series of bribes. A year later, Simon founded Timac Construction with the intent of started building the park. There's a trilogy.
That's cool.
For those who don't know why we're laughing, me and Tim, who wrote a lot of the backstory on the viral sites, for a joke, we thought, wouldn't it be funny if the construction company who built the actual park, like construction and everything like that, we just called it Timac Construction because Timac sounds like a construction name. So we thought actually that might work. And now it's just kind of whenever I hear it, I just laugh because I'm like, well, what have we done?
Brilliant. Officially part of the Jurassic Park canon for all time.
Well, it's like we looked at it like whenever I think of it, it always reminds me of like Tonka trucks. Did you ever used to have that when you were a kid? Like
yeah,
those sort of things. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. Like the Timac Construction, it's like Tonka trucks. Like,
you can picture it on like the side of like diggers in like a big heavy block font. Timac Construction. Yeah, that's cool.
And it made me laugh in Jurassic World when I was watching it, and they've got that line of dialogue where Claire Deering says like, "We've got the best structural engineers," and I'm like, "Yes, you have." Like,
oh, nice.
Like I didn't know that line was like I read the script, I didn't remember that line until I saw the film, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like,
that's brilliant.
Timac Construction.
But it was only sort of like almost like a little Easter egg, wasn't it? Just for yourselves.
Yeah, it was just a silly joke
on the website. But now here you go. You've got CBR himself mentioning it in his video.
I know. That. Yeah, CBR.
CBR
was written by Scott Ceason.
Thank you, CBR.
And based on this movie, the Jurassic Park Adventure series
includes
here you go. Prey, and Flyers.
Oh damn, he's going really big.
Reading along.
Respect.
After the third movie, fans had to wait over a decade for Jurassic World, which was released in 2015. This was the fourth film in the overall franchise, but the first installment of the Jurassic World trilogy. Simon Masrani had been very busy with the construction of the latest dinosaur park and was at least smart enough to make security a big line item in the company budget. Needless to say, he also had to spend a lot of time placating conservationists and regular people who just didn't think bringing dinosaurs back to life was a good idea. But with enough money, the laws about creating dinosaurs began to change, which meant Masrani could start churning out new and even more dangerous dinosaurs than ever before. He did this under the...
Just want to point out that Simon Masrani, it wasn't like his goal to just make vicious dinosaurs. Like, that's just part and parcel of dinosaurs, you know?
The guise of medical advancement, which allowed him to get around the anti-dinosaur legislation. The fact that he built the park right on top of the bones of the original Jurassic Park on Isla Nublar was just the cherry on top of this terrible idea sundae. In 2004, Claire Dearing started interning at Jurassic World, and there's actually a novel about her time in this position. It's called The Evolution of Claire by Tess Sharp, and even though it was released at the same time as Fallen Kingdom, which we'll get to in a little bit, it predates the events of Jurassic World. The new park was completed in 2005, and dinosaurs were transferred from Isla Sorna back to Isla Nublar. The new park opened up and...
Nice. See, this is
that correct?
Well, yeah. So, well, dinosaurs had been transported before 2005, but it's nice to see that, like, some people out there worry about, like, how much people get this information, like, because obviously it's buried heavily in across a lot of the viral marketing. Like, it's spread out across, but this guy seems to be on it. So, for the most part, even with his jokey ways and saying that Paul Kirby's a scientist, he's you know, he's
not doing too bad.
He's not doing too bad. No, it's pretty good.
Claire took on a full-time position. For a while, things go really well. And by that, I mean it's a little while before someone else gets devoured by a dinosaur. But for a time
that we know of.
Visitors.
Well, I'm just saying that like we literally have no idea, do we? Like,
flock to the new Jurassic World, and all the money changing hands makes it seem as though nothing could possibly go wrong until the team decides to make an even bigger, badder dinosaur than ever before. Speaking of getting eaten by dinosaurs, in 2015 we have the events of the Jurassic World movie. Claire's nephews, Zach and Gray Mitchell, come to visit the park on a leisurely "our parents are getting a divorce" vacation. Working at the park is ethologist Owen Grady, who is training a herd of velociraptors.
What did he call him? Anthologist?
I didn't get that word at all.
What the heck did he just call Owen Grady? Listen.
Parents are getting a divorce vacation. Working at the park is ethologist Owen Grady, who...
Ethologist?
Ethologist? Let me look that up. Because I know... Oh wait, I can't Google it because I'm recording.
He's just animal behavior specialist, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got two titles. I think if you go on JurassicWorld.com, it says what his job is. He's got two titles. I'm just gonna have a quick little peruse. I'm doing it on my phone so I don't ruin the.
He also says that Zach and Gray they're on a divorce. Our parents are getting a divorce holiday, which he could have mentioned that's also why Tim and Lex are kind of at the park in the original film, because their parents are getting a divorce as well.
Yeah,
it's like something that's easily missed.
Well, so here's the thing about that: divorce plays a part in both the. Well, I don't think divorce is the reason Lex and Tim are at the park. I think that divorce is the reason that Zach and Gray are at the park, because their parents want them out of the way for a bit while they're doing the divorce procedure. And that's why Zach doesn't know about it, but Gray has cottoned onto it, so that's why he says and reveals it to Zach. But I think if I'm right, in the first Jurassic Park, they say like...
They were just going anywhere.
I think so. 'Cause Because I think
Hammond's coming down. It's when Hammond's walking down the steps when the cars first pull up, and he says, because they're talking about the kids being there, and he says something like, "Have a heart, gentlemen. The parents are getting a divorce." So I guess it's like it was planned anyway, just to take their minds off the divorce, something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So was that from like the that was from the deleted scene, wasn't it? Yeah, when they're coming down the steps. I completely forgot about that. I was thinking more like Gennaro's line when he's like, she's getting a divorce or whatever he says to when he's at the amber mines.
Yeah, is that scene deleted?
The one you're talking about, where he's coming down, he's like, "Have a heart, gentlemen. They're getting a divorce." I think.
I was just remembering that wrong. Then
I think that's from.
Isn't it?
Yeah, so it's from a shot. It's like a behind the scenes shot, and they're filming it from a distance. And I think he says something like that. Unless I'm completely wrong, but I don't remember that line in the film.
That's where I remember the shot, but yeah, now I thought it was part of the film.
But the reason I think the kids in Jurassic Park are on the island to make them feel better because their parents are going for a divorce. However, and obviously that plays thematically into like Lex when she's like, he left us. She's not talking necessarily about Gennaro leaving them. She's talking about her dad or whatever. And when Grant's there, and he's like, "That's not what I'm going to do." Like, it's all playing into the parenting angle. But also, the one that I think's the most prominent reason they're on the island is Hammond wants to impress Grant and everyone with the park by showing them what kids think.
The kids' reaction to it, yeah.
Exactly, which is like why he's like so happy to see them. He's like, "Kids," like, and all this sort of stuff. And it's like,
yeah,
they love their grandpa, yeah. They love their grandpa and stuff, but it's all like a show for Hammond to be like, "Hey, look, Grant," and that, like, we're going to have some kids here. Owen Grady is an animal behaviour expert, according to the actual Jurassic World website. But there was another, I swear there's another title he has, but anyway. Let's carry on.
He's an enthologist or whatever he says. Optometrist, I don't know.
A dentist.
Was training
He's a gynecologist, yeah.
a herd of velociraptors. Remember, it's...
Whoa. Sorry, man. I'm going to have to go back. Are you seeing Owen bask in sunlight with his hand up?
No, he's coming down the steps with a bucket.
Oh, would you be able to rewind it? Because I think...
Yeah.
Just listen closely to what he says.
Park is ethologist Owen Grady, who is training a herd of velociraptors.
Training a herd of velociraptors?
Yeah. A herd of velociraptors.
Yeah, it's not the proper terminology, is it?
Nope.
Remember, it's not a Jurassic Park movie unless they really hammer home the fact that these raptors were quite intelligent for a big bunch of lizards. I can open a doorknob too, raptors. Geneticist Dr. Henry Wu had created...
Who does he sound like? I can open a door too, raptors. He sounds like the guy who voiced Mighty Max. so specific. If you ever like watch Mighty Max.
Oh god, I love Mighty Max.
Or like Zelda. Well, excuse me, princess. Like that sort of thing.
It's like American voice actor type. Generic voice actor.
Yeah.
Overly enthusiastic voice actor.
Overly enthusiastic.
Created a dinosaur called the Indominus Rex, which was even more dangerous than a T-Rex. As in, could turn pretty much invisible and mask its heat signature dangerous. Seriously, you can probably guess what happens from there, but I'll fill you in anyway. Owen declared the aggressive and unpredictable dino too dangerous to live, but Simon didn't want to take a bullet to his profits. So when the dinosaur tricked some park workers and escaped, employees used non-lethal means to subdue it. Well, the methods were non-lethal for the Indominus. A lot of humans didn't survive the attempt to capture the dinosaur, and things only spiraled more out of control from there. Eventually, Owen used the raptors to track the Indominus, but...
No, this is all wrong. This is all wrong. So, Simon Masrani didn't want to use bullets to take down the Indominus, right? And Owen says to him, you need to put a minigun on that helicopter and kill it, all right? He says, like, you've got like an M40 or whatever the gun is called, and he's like, strap it to a helicopter and smoke this thing. And Masrani says no, because we've got 26 million invested in this asset or whatever, right? Only after the ACU are taken out, does Owen go up to Simon Masrani and says like, you know, you need to talk to your scientists in the lab because this thing isn't a dinosaur. So he goes and does that, and then after what happens? I forget now. It's been a while since I watched Jurassic World. He goes and sees Wu, and after he spoke to Wu, Hoskins comes and sees Simon, and Hoskins says, look, the only way you're going to stop that is if we do a field test with these raptors and hunt that thing down. And Simon Masrani says there's absolutely no way we're going to let raptors loose on this island as well.
That's
like he puts his foot down. And so Hoskins goes, well, what do you want to do? And Masrani then hard cuts. They're bolting the minigun to the helicopter, and Simon Masrani's like, I'm going to do this myself because my pilot's gone. And so he does what Owen tells him to do in the first place. Like, he should have listened to Owen in the beginning, right? And then once Simon Masrani is dead, that's when Hoskins goes, haha, I can now... It's mutiny, essentially. He goes into the offices, overtakes it, and goes, we're doing the raptor plan then. And it's Hoskins who releases the raptors.
That's right, yeah.
He just says to Owen that, like, we're doing this with or without your help. Obviously, it will go better with you, essentially, is what he's saying. And he gives Owen the ultimatum. So Owen reluctantly goes along with this plan. He doesn't want to do this either. Like, that's why he punched Hoskins right in the face. So there's some misinterpretation of the film here happening.
Yeah, he's got that a bit wrong.
Exactly.
But then the rogue dino took over as the raptor's leader since they share DNA. That's the kind of thing that just plain hurts emotionally and physically since dinosaurs are involved. He managed to win back his few survivors. I
don't want to go too much on a tangent about this because I could be here all day talking about it, but I don't think the Indominus actually became the Alpha, but that's a whole different discussion. I think the Raptors were turning to, like, see what their next instructions were, and the next things they know is they're getting shot at by all these men, like, or by all the people that were there.
Yeah, you could read it that way, couldn't you?
Yeah, I think it's meant to be intentionally messy, like that situation. Like, you don't quite know, like, what's happening, especially from the Raptors' perspective, because they're asked to hunt down this thing. It starts basically speaking Raptor to them, and then they're like, well, what's going on, guys? And they turn around, and then the next thing they know is everyone's just going shooting in their direction. And so that's why, like, in this shot that we can see here, when Owen sees Charlie, she doesn't instantly attack him. She's like, oh, Owen, like, how you doing?
Yeah, they're a bit like, they're kind of in between, Anna. They don't really, they're sort of just waiting to see, so which way is this going to go? What do you want us to do?
Exactly, and that's another reason why I think, like, at the end when they corner Claire, Owen, and the kids, they're not instantly attacking them because Blue is basically standing there, like, almost waiting to know what signal to get from the Alpha, and then he takes the head harness off, and she knows. Oh, okay.
She's like, this is what's happening here. She goes along with it. She responds to his command, sort of thing.
Yeah, essentially. And then when the Indominus turns up, it's like, it's game over. They're not turning to your side. Because if they had a scene that was specific to, like, to show the Indominus, like, roaring or something, and then the Raptors charge forward with the Indominus roaring, like, showing that it's leading the pack, then I'd be like, well, yeah, fine. But the film doesn't actually show that at all. Like, it shows actually a muddled mess of, like...
It just shows what Owen's sort of thinking, isn't it? His own worries about what's the situation. That's how he's reading the situation.
And when Owen says the Raptors have got a new Alpha, that's Owen. I don't think Owen's correct. I think that's Owen's fear. I think he's just saying, watch out, everyone, Raptors have a new Alpha. I don't think he's actually saying that that's legitimately what's happening, which is why when he sees Charlie, he, like, looks and he's like, hang on a second, maybe they don't have an Alpha. Because if he genuinely thought that, Owen would probably just shoot Charlie. If you like, like, I'm not the Alpha anymore. But there's that little scene, and I don't think that scene's in there for no reason. I think it's there for the very reason that, I don't think the Indominus actually took proper command of the Raptors. But anyway, there might be people out there who disagree with me on that, but that's just the way I'm reading it at this time.
surviving raptors, and with the help of a good old-fashioned T-Rex, they took down the Indominus and allowed the survivors to escape the park. Oh, and this all inspired the kids' parents not to get a divorce after all. I'm not sure why. I know a lot more about Jurassic Park movies than romance, so you'll have to figure that out on your own.
He's just pulled that out of thin air, hasn't he? We don't know that.
Yeah, we don't know. There's nothing to say that they didn't just go home and go, guys, we know you've been through a traumatic time, but we're still going to get a divorce. We can't make this work. This is making, if anything, this is making it worse. But we don't know.
Because they're just holding hands at the end, like in that shot. They're not like, it doesn't really prove anything, does it?
Well, it's like the end of Jurassic Park. It's implied that Grant and Ellie are going to go off and have a relationship and have kids, but guess what?
Doesn't happen.
Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous is a CGI animated series coming to Netflix in 2020. Both Netflix and DreamWorks Animation are collaborating on the project, and it will take place during the same time period as Jurassic World. It's about 6 teens going to an adventure camp on Isla Nublar, and, to be fair, dealing with escaped dinosaurs is pretty adventurous. The series will follow the cast as they attempt to get off the island and presumably try to get their camp deposits back.
Okay, fair enough. Cool.
A mercenary team was sent out to retrieve DNA samples from the remains of the Indominus Rex. Yes, you and I know this couldn't possibly lead to anything good, but common sense is in shorter supply than dinosaurs in this franchise. As if the island wasn't already dangerous enough,
it's funny because it's true.
It's discovered that the volcano Mount Sibo is still active. In 2018,
he pronounced it right.
Had a hearing to decide if the dinosaurs on Isla Nublar should be saved from the impending volcanic eruption or nah. I know life finds a way and everything, but these dinosaurs are incredibly dangerous, and they already went extinct once, so is it really a big deal if they do it again? Okay, maybe I'm a monster, but Dr. Ian Malcolm agreed with me. He believed Hammond should have never brought them back to life in the first place.
I'm with Ian Malcolm. I think they should have let them perish with the volcano.
Yeah.
But the story is it's about people who are like trying to exploit the dinosaurs, isn't it? So
yeah, there'd be no movie if it were just left to burn.
Yeah, imagine that. Fallen Kingdom's like 15 minutes long. It's just like
2 hours of just burning dinosaurs.
Yeah, it's just hideous shots of them all like running through the forests. With the music
like it's the opening of Terminator 2 or the nuke dream of Sarah Connor has with dinosaurs and lava.
Yeah, you see a raptor holding onto a fence like Blue turns into a skeleton. God, that'd be hilarious.
And simply by doing nothing, humans could make things right. Personally, I love doing nothing, but Claire Deering disagrees. She started up the Dinosaur Protection Group with the intention of saving them. Unsurprisingly, the Senate voted against rescuing giant human-eating monsters, but that didn't deter Deering. She linked up with Hammond's former partner Benjamin Lockwood, who wanted to relocate them to a new island and recruits Owen Grady to help her out. Claire and her allies decided to utilize the old dinosaur tracking system to help them hunt down the raptor Blue and other dinosaurs. But it turned out not everyone was on the same page, since mercenary leader Ken Wheatley ended up tranquilizing Grady after Blue was wounded. The mercenaries loaded up their ship with dinosaurs and
like he is condensing so much of this down.
Yeah.
That there's
a mile a minute there.
Oh my god! Yeah, it's like I thought there's this shot in Fallen Kingdom, right? And I've actually been confused by this because I think it either makes or breaks the entire reason. That Ken Wheatley tranks in quote tries to kill Owen Grady, and there's this shot of the Blue's just been tranked, right? And the mercenaries all come out of the bushes, and Owen's there like, everyone get back! Like, you know, he's surprised that they were there. They didn't wait for his signal again, which is something carried over from Jurassic World. And there's this shot of a guy aiming his gun up, like he's starting to point his gun up, and Owen Grady is in the shot, like blurred. But the angle is in such a way that it could either be misconstrued as he's aiming at Owen, like he's going to now cap Owen in the back of the head.
That's the guy who's underneath Blue? No.
Yeah, so like then because Blue sees him raising the gun, and Blue freaks out, and she jumps and then kills that guy. So It's the shot of the guy. It's the angle. It looks like he could be either aiming at Blue or he could be aiming at Owen. And if he's aiming at Blue, then the scene's ruined. But if he's aiming at Owen, then it completely makes sense. And that's like, I don't know if that's just because the angle's off or if I'm just looking at it wrong. But yeah, I don't know if he didn't put the shot in there.
I can't really remember, to be honest. The only thing I remember is that the Blue is on top, is attacking the guy, and then he shoots Blue.
Yes.
And then that's when Owen runs, and doesn't he say, like, you son of a bitch? And then...
Yeah, so before
yeah,
so I'm talking before Blue jumps on that guy. She's stumbling around. Right? Yeah, she's stumbling around as she's about to be tranked. And then there's this shot of Owen saying, everyone stand back, and behind Owen, this guy is raising his gun up like he's going to shoot, and it looks like he's going to shoot Owen, in my opinion, but it could be like he's going to shoot Blue, and that's what I'm confused by. But because when Blue jumps and launches on him, Owen actually has to jump out of the way, which is what makes me think that he's aiming at Owen, because Owen's actually in between them, so it can't be Blue. So if that's the case, then Wheatley tranking Owen, because Zia mentioned that the tranks would put an animal into cardiac arrest or whatever, so he just assumes Owen's dead if I've tranked him like that, because he's either died from the trank or he's going to be burned up on the island. But there's that shot of Zia grabbing the trank and it's half empty, so it's like, and that's when then she picks up Owen's gun and points at Wheatley. So I think it's this one shot that is admittedly a bit confusing, because if it was angled better, like you saw down the scope of the guy going towards Owen's head or something, you'd be like, oh shit, like they're gonna cap Owen, like they're just gonna kill him. Whereas as it stands in the film, Owen is blurred in the shot and the guy's raising the gun, so it does look like he's aiming towards Owen, but I think a lot of people haven't clocked onto that. Like they just think he's aiming at Blue. And that's where I'm like, okay, so they should have probably angled that shot better. But yeah, just to go on a bit of a tangent there from what that guy was saying. He was like, they tranked Blue, and then Owen get off the island. You're like, whoa, you just jumped over like so much information. But anyway,
left the rest.
It's better to watch the film at the end of the day than a 17-minute long YouTube video.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, who's this for? Is it just for... It's not like no one's not going to have seen the films, are they? And watched this.
Well, he made this video specifically for me and you, Sicky, to make this video.
To just rip to shreds. No, well, he's done all right so far.
Yeah,
Went into detail. He's mentioned them Jurassic Park 3 junior novelizations. He's mentioned that book about Claire.
Yeah.
Seemed to take his time with that, and now he's fucking.
And Jurassic Park the game. Yeah,
Jurassic Park the game. There you go.
Lava-filled ends. It turns out that the mercenaries' plan the whole time was to sell these dinosaurs on the black market, because yes, in this universe, black market dinosaurs exist. Lockwood was furious, but he was taken out. And we learned that the dinosaur in town was
we took him out.
Raptor, part Indominus Rex, part
There's absolutely no mention of why he was taken out.
Yeah, that's a pretty big thing to just glance over.
It's like, this is his house that they're auctioning it in. And also, he wasn't just taken out by anyone, he was taken out by Mills. Like, yeah, he's just taken out, you know?
Velociraptor, all dangerous. Eventually, the Indoraptor was defeated and the other dinosaurs were, well, saved, I guess. Even though they escaped into the wilderness, where they posed an enormous threat to any humans they come across, not to mention the ecosystem, Dr. Malcolm declared this the beginning of a neo-Jurassic age where humans and dinosaurs learn to coexist, even though there are now many movies showing why that is a terrible idea. Battle at the Big Rock isn't a feature-length movie, but it still takes place within the Jurassic Park universe, so it's definitely worth a mention. This short film takes place a year after Fallen Kingdom and tells the story of a wholesome family camping trip that happens to take place in an area of California teeming with loose dinosaurs. Said family finds themselves trapped in an RV with an Allosaurus raging outside. But after the dinosaur has a quick chat with a crossbow, it decides to find an easier target. Hey, what do you want from me? This movie's
That's a double crossbow, I think you'll find.
It's only like 8 minutes
yeah.
long. Okay, now we are...
Oh, so he said, oh, what do you want from me? This video is 8 minutes long. It's like, well, what we want from you, CBR, is to mention that the first dinosaur was born on US soil. There's your first one. And what about the credits? The credits are quite important to like talk about because they show dinosaurs everywhere.
Yeah, it shows that they're already out and about. People see them. Yeah, that's a bit of an oversight.
We're all up to date on the Jurassic Park timeline, but there is still more story to be told. The 6th film overall and 3rd Jurassic World movie, Dominion, will be released in 2021. Filming kicked off in February of 2020, and old school fans will be excited to see 3 classic characters returning to the big screen. Laura Dern's Dr. Ellie Sattler will be reuniting with Dr. Alan Grant and Dr. Ian Malcolm in Dominion. Apparently, these poor characters just haven't been through enough dinosaur-related catastrophes. We'll also see many characters from the Jurassic World franchise, including Claire Dearing and Owen Grady. Currently, we don't know very much about the film, but if I had to hazard a guess, I would predict rampaging dinosaurs, morally dubious experiments with dino DNA, and at least one character with more money than common sense. One thing is for certain, and that is the fact that I will definitely be seeing this movie when it hits theaters.
Nice one.
So
nice one, CBR.
Cool, yeah, okay, alright, yeah, that's not too bad. He did pretty good.
He seemed to do all right, but then, like, towards the end, was he approaching his lunch break or something? He seemed to just be like, right, blah, 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 getting it all in.
8-minute long video. What do you want from me? It's like...
He had to hit that sweet spot, that YouTube sweet spot. It's like 15 to 20 minutes.
Well, I will say this. Objective fact right now is that this is not the complete Jurassic Park timeline. So I'm not even taking into account Dominion. Like, as far as we're gone, he missed out so much information. This video should have been about 7 hours long, and he could have gone into as much detail as he wanted to. He was dictating his own time here. He was the one who decided, I'm going to do this all in 17 minutes.
He was picking and choosing.
So he says 8 minutes long. What do you want from me? It's like, well, a longer video then. Like, so, go in more detail. No, I'm just pulling his leg. Like, he did a really good job, and it's nice to see that, like, this video, I think it's got like over 100,000 views and stuff at the moment. It's only been out a week, so he's got like millions of subscribers. It's just nice to see that this information that some fans, like the deeper fans and that out there, worry about whether this information gets out there into like sort of the quote unquote mainstream. This is just an example of it does sometimes like it does get out there in the form of these videos, and judging by the comments under this, it's like some people do discuss the information and all that. But yeah,
well, that's good.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I don't know.
He could have fucked it up a lot worse.
It could have been worse, John.
He could have
a lot worse.
He could have said characters' names wrong. He could have got the islands mixed up.
Yeah. He could have said Paul Kirby's a scientist.
Ooh. No, I think that feels like something like maybe he's got an editor that he pays.
Yeah.
Picked some footage of someone with their hands in.
Well, there was loads of things. This is how nerdy I am with Jurassic, and nitpicky I am. There's this shot of like when he said Simon Masrani chose not to shoot the dinosaur or whatever, but there's while we were watching the specific shot of Simon Masrani rolling his sleeves up as he goes up to the helicopter to go shoot the Indominus. It's like that sort of editing is what we're talking about here. How much time do you have on you, Sicky?
I've got all day, mate. I've got all day.
Are you in because of this whole corona?
No, I'm not in self-quarantine. I'm not like that. I'm just not in not in work today as it was, because we're I won't go into it, but my family's like opening a new business this week, and it's like it's the worst time to be opening a new business or what, but they don't need me today, so
yeah, okay. I'm just gonna.
What are you thinking? Like,
there's another video we could watch, a shorter video.
Let's do it.
I'm just trying to see if I can find it now. I think it's on my other channel. I saved it in my watch later on my other channel. How do you switch a camera?
Just make sure you're recording or everything's set up.
Oh Jesus, yeah, it is. It's all working at the moment. It's like I can't believe. Well, we got through that time. What's this called then? the day that Jurassic Park died. Okay.
Oh god.
Well, someone requested that I do this, so it was either this or what's his face? Doug Walker, the Nostalgia Critics review of Fallen Kingdom, but I couldn't stand that. Where are we looking?
Well, you're going to have to be careful because I might end up agreeing with some of his points. I might be like, yeah, it did die.
Oh, I've seen this video, so it's like,
right.
I'm just double checking because I swear there was another video that I wanted to do that was Jurassic related, but I can't seem to find it. Oh, just on a different tangent, I found this video called 4K 60 frames per second, a trip through New York City in 1911. And someone colorized this footage.
I haven't watched it. That's in my watch later list. That one,
it's so fascinating. It's fascinating.
Give that one a watch.
Or there's Alien, What is Cosmic Horror? No, it's going to have to be, the day Jurassic Park died. Let's learn about this. And let me...
Is it like an opinion piece?
I don't know what it is. So let's just have a look. Let me know if it changes for you.
Yep, it's playing.
Okay, so I'm going to click play now then. Okay, so this is The Day That Jurassic Park Died by Entertain the Elk on YouTube.
Entertain the Elk. How many views has this one got?
253,000.
Okay.
This video is sponsored by The Great Courses Plus.
Alan.
Oh, you got the hits.
To Jurassic World.
This is going to be good.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park is an undeniable classic made by an iconic filmmaker at the peak of his career.
Yep.
It won 3 Academy Awards.
Actually, sorry. Did I just accidentally rewind it?
Yeah.
Does it say the title right now for you?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Do you think Jurassic Park was the peak of Spielberg's career?
Well, yeah, I think I would. I think I probably would. It's like 1993. You've got Jurassic Park and Schindler's List. You knock them both out the same year.
That's true.
I think I would have to say, yeah, it was. Because you've got.
I've just never thought about it. So I'm like.
No, I've never really thought about it, but then it's like, it's two films that like are both at the top of the game in terms of what Spielberg can do, like the drama. So you've got Schindler's List, and then you've also got the big summer blockbuster kind of. I think, yeah, I would say it was.
Okay, yeah, I just never questioned it, so I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. Because I hear a lot of people say that, like, it's the peak of his career, and I'm like, really? Oh, okay. I never really thought about it, because for me, it was like the 80s was like the Spielberg decade. Like, all the Indiana Jones films, and producing Back to the Future, and E.T., and what else did he do? The Color Purple, and he just did so much in the 80s that I guess it's not like... I guess as a decade, the 80s was probably his peak.
Yeah.
But as a single year or like a single moment, yeah, maybe 1993
he was building up. He was building up through the 80s, late 80s. He's on he's sky high, and then he peaks in like the 93.
Yeah. And it's all downhill from there until you get to Tintin.
And then you get the BFG, and he's back on top.
Yeah. Oh, my little nephew is obsessed with that movie. Like, he will not stop. That's like his Jurassic Park. He won't stop watching the BFG. He loves it.
Well, it's, there's worse films that a kid could be like obsessed with, I suppose, these days, like Minions or something like that. So
yeah,
I didn't think it was terrible.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit anticlimactic, but that might be down to the book more so than the film. Yeah. The Day the BFG Died. Welcome to our video.
Jurassic Park is an undeniable classic made by an iconic filmmaker at the peak of his career. It won 3 Academy Awards, revolutionized the capability of visual effects in film, and after 25 years, Jurassic Park is still just as thrilling and entertaining as it was when it was first released.
Agree.
The commercial and critical success of Jurassic Park spawned an entire franchise of games, toys, and 4 subsequent films, but none of those sequels have been able to recapture the magic of the first film. But why is that?
I'm just going to say I don't think any sequel ever will be able to recapture it. And I don't think they're trying to. I think a lot, like, they'll emulate a lot of stuff from that first film because it was successful, but I don't think their filmmakers are actively trying to recapture that magic because from what I can tell from where I stand, it's like the filmmakers know they can't recapture it. It's like because you have to be back in 1993, not have CGI as prevalent as it is today, not have the internet. Like you have to have all these elements in place for it to actually recapture that magic. Like that magic is unique and one-off thing that happened with the first film.
Absolutely, and I think all the best sequels are ones that know that and try to expand in different ways. Like you compare Aliens to Alien, it's so successful as a sequel because it takes it somewhere else. It doesn't do the same thing.
Yeah, it doesn't try and there's like so if we were talking modern viewing Aliens through modern eyes, there's moments like when the Queen Alien dips down near these stairs and Jerry Goldsmith's Alien score comes back in for like a split second. Goes from James Horner to Jerry Goldsmith for like just the briefest of moments, and it's the same moment. James Cameron recreates the shot of Ripley looking around the corner. You know, in the first film, she's looking around that corner, and she sees the alien between her and the escape pod or whatever. In Aliens, they repeat that exact same shot with her and the hive looking around the corner.
And it's got the flickering light and everything,
Yeah, so that if we were looking at that with modern eyes, I could very easily imagine a scenario where someone says, oh, they're trying to recapture the magic of the first film. But it's like, but no, that's just a throwback to get you in the mood. But I don't think the filmmaker, especially James Cameron, was actively trying to recapture that magic. Like, it's impossible, especially with like innovative films like Alien and Jurassic Park.
It's just an acknowledgement of what came before. It's like a I guess it's trying to be like a callback, but it's not. I wouldn't call it recapturing the magic or like a recreation or anything like that. Because it does like a little bit of handheld in that shot, in that scene as well. The camera follows Ripley running, which is obviously that's pure Alien, isn't it? But
like the whole setup is the same, as in like the base is going to explode after a certain amount of time, and there's nothing she can do to stop it. Same as the Nostromo. So the whole thing is like one big throwback to what you know, but the context is completely different. Not only on screen but also off screen because of the year it comes out. Like times have changed, so it's like I think filmmakers are fully aware that they can't recapture something from the past. They can only build upon it and then try and capture something new, which is definitely what Aliens did. Like, and debatably for a younger generation, what like Jurassic World did in 2015 was like, for the younger kids, they were just like, whoa, what is this? Like, what is this franchise? This is new. This isn't Transformers. This isn't like Star Wars. This is something different. And then they go back and watch the other ones. They're like, oh, okay. Oh, that's where it comes from. Wow, look at this. So, yeah. I just always find it funny because I'm not going after this video already, but he's posed the question, like, why haven't they been able to recapture it? And it's like, well, you have to then ask, were they trying to? And I don't think they were.
No.
Where did this franchise go wrong? In this essay, I'm going to dive into the Jurassic Park series, comparing the original masterpiece to its mediocre sequels, until finally pinpointing the moment I believe Jurassic Park died.
Hold on to your butts.
So just your predictions on where he thinks it died. I already know the answer to this because I've seen this video, but
you've seen it before. Well, he's already said the mediocre sequels, so I'm going to say he's not one of the fans of the Lost World, which I am, and a lot of original JP fans. We absolutely love the Lost World.
Yeah.
I think he's probably going to say Jurassic Park 3.
Okay.
It's like that's the bottom of the barrel, I guess you might say. Or it'll be like that's when they just did it for money. That's my prediction.
Your
Should be
prediction.
3.
Okay.
When discussing the sequels, there's a handful of common complaints. None of the characters appear to have any logic. After all, they keep choosing to go back time and time again to Death Island, full of carnivorous dinosaurs running amok. Any engaging moral debate surrounding science and ethics is gone. And let's not forget about random characters suffering cruel and brutal deaths, usually
So there's 3 points I want to bring up here, right? One, I will never ever understand the whole people getting cruel and unusual deaths who don't deserve it. I just like get that out.
No.
Like they're dinosaurs. They don't talk to the humans. They don't know reason. You know, that's just a stupid argument. But also, he said the whole science and ethical debate never comes up again. It's debatable because like they have some of that in Fallen Kingdom. They have some of that sprinkled in Jurassic World. Lost World has a different debate in terms of like, you know, the animals' behavior specifically. But the reason I think that they don't talk about that sort of stuff from the first film again is because the arguments have already been laid out in the first film, and they're a continuation of that. So it's like, if you're going to talk about those dilemmas, there's only so many dilemmas you can really talk about. When, like, is it right to clone dinosaurs? Yes or no? Is it right to keep these dinosaurs alive? Yes or no? Like, so it'd just be repeating the same questions we've heard before, is my point. And I can't remember what the first one
and
was.
everything's covered in the dinner scene, isn't it, in the first film? So you can't just stick a dinner scene in every subsequent film. It's like,
yeah, there's different ways of doing it. Like, you'd have to have a different equivalent of a dinner scene that isn't talking about the same specific issues. Which is why I personally like the whole courtroom sequence in Fallen Kingdom. As brief as it was, that was like they were talking about a different dilemma to do with the dinosaurs, but they were sat down discussing it. So I was like, okay, I like that. But the dinner, see, because I think the dinner scene is so good in the first film, it just like they got all of it in there that you can never repeat it. Like, why would you? Like, the first film does it perfectly, and also lays out some questions of like what can happen, like why we have no idea what to expect and all that sort of stuff.
And I guess the sequels kind of go on to address that in their own way. Like you've got the Grant saying, "How can we possibly have the slightest idea what to expect?" Well, that's kind of, you've got that in Fallen Kingdom. You've got that supposedly coming up in the next film.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so my point here is that like whenever I hear people complain about like they don't bring up those issues again, it's like, well, did you really want them to? Because the first film does it so well. Like, it'll only pale in comparison.
Science and ethics is gone. And let's not forget about random characters suffering cruel and brutal deaths, usually reserved for the main villain. I mean, I get that she was a mediocre babysitter, but damn. Those are all justifiable complaints, but I want to focus on 2 main elements which were present in the...
Wait, did he just say they were justifiable complaints?
Damn.
I think
Those are all justifiable complaints.
Those are all justifiable complaints. Right, I'm just going to say this right out of the bat. To you, they're justifiable complaints. But that blanket statement is like not for everyone. Like, that you can't just say they're justifiable. Well, I guess to him they are. But why? I don't know.
But I want to focus on 2 main elements which were present in the original film, but severely lacking in the sequels. Spectacle and suspense.
Ooh.
First, spectacle. It's impossible to sustain the same sense of awe and wonder across multiple installments. Whether it's Middle-earth, Hogwarts, or a galaxy far, far away, the excitement of entering a new world for the first time can never be replicated.
Agreed.
The initial feeling of arriving in Isla Nublar, entering the gates of Jurassic Park, and seeing full-size dinosaurs is incredible. But the Jurassic Park sequels have never been close to recreating that same sense of awe. The premise of humans surviving on a dinosaur-infested island is difficult to build on, which is why every sequel feels like it's retreading on tired ground.
That's how it always starts. But then later there's running and screaming.
That's not it treading on the ground that we've already covered. That's it addressing the fact that we've already been there. Right? There's a difference there, right? With that clip he used of Malcolm saying that. because they have the shot of like Eddie Carr and Nick going like, "Ooh, wow," when they see the Stegosaurus.
Yeah.
But then Malcolm addresses it like he's the one who's been in that situation before, so he goes, "Hey," and it's basically like fourth wall breaking in a way.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I agree what you're saying about like you're never going to be able to have that same experience.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Introduced to the world and all that, but
yeah, that's like Avatar 2 coming out, and then people going, yeah, you're not recapturing the magic of going to Pandora again for the first time, or going to Pandora for the first time. It's like, well, we're not going for the first time. This is the second time.
We're going the second time with a different story, telling a different story within the world. It's like,
yeah, if the second, let's say if the Lost World was about, I don't know, maybe one character had heard rumors of dinosaurs being on this island, and then convinced a load of people to go with them, and they didn't know how to get there, so you follow them in the beginning of the film going to Costa Rica, like paying someone to get on a boat and all that, and there's this tension build up, like, are there dinosaurs there or not? It's already diffused by the fact that you have a first film. Like, no matter what you do, it's always diffused, because as an audience, you know there's dinosaurs there. Like, it doesn't matter how much tension and that you build up. Because I use that example as, like, those characters would never have seen the dinosaurs before, whereas, like, you know, in The Lost World, Lex and Tim cameo at the beginning, Malcolm's there, Sarah's, like, they've seen the dinosaurs already, so... I just don't... It's a... What's a way of wording this? It's like, it's a complaint that I understand fully, but at the same time, I'm like, well, what did you expect? Like...
yeah.
Like, it's like, what were you expecting to actually have that same exact feeling as going to
like
these
a
new
fucking
films?
mind wipe between films.
Exactly. You'll only get that from new films, like watching like a brand new film for the first time.
Single sentence perfectly encapsulates the structure of every single Jurassic Park movie.
I'll say he's talking about Ian Malcolm's line. Noticed how he skipped over Jurassic Park 3 there?
Michael Crichton, writer of the Jurassic Park novels, tried working with the screenwriters on Jurassic Park 3, but left after only a few days when he couldn't come up with a satisfactory idea. Without any real interesting direction to take the series, the creators have relied heavily on nostalgia. By connecting these inferior sequels to the original classic, the creators are hoping to direct their audience away from the larger story issues towards shiny distractions in the form of mementos. Mementos that are tied to emotional memories in the audience from their experience of watching the original film. But the problem is, these sequels have done nothing to earn these emotional responses on their own. They've merely taken the original film and squeezed every drop of nostalgia from it like blood from a stone. It's lazy, undisciplined writing. Ian Malcolm puts it this way.
Okay, give an example. Because we're only seeing Grant on top of the trike here. I'm willing to hear his argument out, but where's the example?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Okay, I guess he must mean like by bringing Grant back in JP3 and all that sort of stuff, but he's not. He doesn't seem to be showing that.
Yeah, I want to know more about what he means by that, because like Jurassic Park borrows from things that, like King Kong. There's a good example. Borrows from King Kong, like even with the gates that they address. It's like, and there's certain shots like the T-Rex eye looking at Lex through the glass is a recreation of a shot from a film called Dinosaurus from 1960, where a T-Rex looks into a tall vehicle window with its eye. So it's like how does this work is what I'm saying. What are the rules here that he's laying down? Because if it's just them repeating shots and stuff from previous movies to recapture the magic, then I'm like, well,
It's
I guess
exactly bleeding. Yeah,
because the first film is based on a lot of stuff, like, you know. But anyway,
this way in the original Jurassic Park.
You stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something as fast as you could, and before you even knew what you had.
Not only is the dinner scene perfect for like setting up the questions that the film says, like it gets used as like an analogy for all of the sequels and like the film itself.
Yeah, it's a great scene. Some great lines in there.
A lot
of what Malcolm.
Go on.
I was just going to say a lot of what Malcolm says doesn't make sense about science.
Yeah.
Come on then.
Yeah, Ram talking out of his ass.
He doesn't seem to understand like evolution and natural selection, but it's a great scene when you're watching it. I'm just noticing there, has he got like a stitched up, a tear in his coat, his leather jacket that's been stitched up? I've never noticed that before.
I've just noticed that as well. Like, what the hell?
It's like a tear that's been sewn back up. That's cool. Guess it kind of adds to his rock star vibe.
Yeah. So he's using the quote from Malcolm here to say that the sequels stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something as fast as they could, which doesn't make sense for Jurassic World because it took 15 years for that film to come out. So they didn't want to rush that one. And then they, like he says, like they package it, put it on a plastic lunchbox or whatever. Like, you can use that exact same quote as well against the first film, because they did market that film as well. It was everywhere. The merchandise is some of the most coveted stuff out there in terms of film memorabilia. So it's like, that argument is good. I get it, but it also can apply to the very first film. And there's this video online which I found on the Jurassic Collection, which is like a video that would be played to retailers or something about like Jurassic Park merchandise.
Oh, I've seen that one.
Oh, it's hilarious. It's
so
great.
Good.
Yeah, it's like CD-ROMs. Yeah, and it's like, all you need to do is take this clip of Malcolm and then play that one, and you'll be like, yeah, okay, it applies to the first film as well. So, and you know, like the previous video said, they got the rights for the films before the books were even published, so they were trying to, you know, make something as fast as they could. Yeah.
You patented it and packaged it on a plastic lunchbox.
See, this is what I mean.
Come on.
I mean, this is
You know how many Jurassic Park lunchboxes they made? I've got about 2 of them.
You've seen that video, the Jurassic Park free survival cell phone. This has been going on since day one. My word.
And now they're selling.
Whereas the original stood as an expertly crafted film in its own right, the sequels...
But that's besides the point.
That doesn't like mean it can't also have merchandise. Like, films have merchandise.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I even owned my Kenner Raptor, electronic Raptor, before seeing the film. I think, if I remember correctly, back when I was 4. We're going way back in the memory banks there, but I think I did. I think, if I'm right, I owned my electronic Raptor before seeing the film.
Merely stand on the shoulders of the original. Remember Sam Neill and Laura Dern?
Exactly what you just said. Remember Sam Neill and Laura Dern.
Remember the T-Rex? Remember the Raptors? Remember that one scientist? Remember the park? They're all just the same tired details played out over and over and over again.
Are they? So there's a bit of wording here that I want to get specifically into. He says these are tired details that are getting played over and over. Details like that are fine to play over and over. I think he meant ideas. But then a T-Rex and a Raptor and that, they're not ideas, they're just elements within that world.
Yeah.
That's like, again, we'll go back to Aliens. The opening of Alien shows Ripley inside the cryotube, and even in the Narcissus, and in the door that she blew the alien out of, you can see the harpoon gun.
The harpoon, yeah.
So is that is that a tired old...
It's like it's just an element. It's the dinosaurs, the cast. There's nothing, who says you can't bring the cast back for a film? It's like, that's fine. Bringing Rick Deckard back in Blade Runner 2049. It's not like just having that stuff in the film is not going to mean it's like lazy.
He's a tired detail. He's a tired detail. I'm just going to rewind it.
He's definitely tired. Is Harrison Ford like?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm doing Blade Runner 2049.
He's always tired, I think, now.
Got to do a film about a CGI dog next. And go and film in Alaska. Anyway.
They're all just the same tired details played out over and over and over again. Which leads me to the next element lacking in the sequels. Second, suspense. In a sense, Jurassic World serves as a thinly veiled metaphor for the relationship between the Jurassic Park series and its audience.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I wouldn't really say it was thinly veiled.
dinosaurs just aren't
That's the point of the movie.
And as the creators desperately seek for a way to extend this profitable series, they believe that they can fix the problem by throwing more and more dinosaurs on the screen. And not just more dinosaurs, but bigger and scarier dinosaurs. Jurassic Park 3 introduced the Spinosaurus, which killed the once dominant T-Rex handedly, and then both Jurassic World films introduced a new dinosaur hybrid in hopes of ratcheting up the action. It's the often misguided philosophy that more is better, but I'd argue the opposite. Some of the greatest villains in film history are barely present on the screen.
Yep, okay, so yes, I agree with him here that the Spinosaurus was introduced to just replace the T-Rex to be a bigger, badder dinosaur, right? Fair enough. I don't care about that. I think that's fine. Like, I don't care. I don't care that they introduced the Spino. It doesn't bother me. Never been bothered about the T-Rex dying, anything like that. Like, I just thought the fight was a little bit short. That was what I was disappointed by. The Indominus is a direct, almost embodiment of a metaphor for what the studio did with the Spinosaurus to the series. The Indominus is that, but built upon even more to be like, okay, in universe now they're doing the same thing that the studio did with the Spinosaurus, but in the film universe that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So I agree with him there, but the Indoraptor is smaller. that's not meant to replace the T-Rex. That's not. It's just meant to be another villainous dinosaur.
It's replacing the raptors though, isn't it? Because it's the Indoraptor.
Oh, I guess, yeah. But
that might be what he's going for.
Yeah, mate. Let me just clarify. Yeah.
More is better, but I'd argue the opposite. Some of the greatest villains.
He says more is better, so I guess in my head I thought of the whole, bigger, louder, more teeth, and then I just thought the Indoraptor's not bigger. It's like actually smaller, but maybe that's just my misunderstanding of what he just said.
Villains in film history are barely present on the screen. Darth Vader is on screen for 10 minutes in A New Hope.
Ooh.
The Wicked Witch, 12 minutes in The Wizard of Oz.
Love The Wizard of Oz.
Hannibal Lecter, 16 minutes in The Silence of the Lambs.
Hell yeah.
The Xenomorph, 5 minutes in Alien. And the shark is only visible on screen for 4 minutes in Jaws. What makes a monster terrifying isn't necessarily their presence, but the anticipation of their presence. Out of Jurassic Park's 127-minute runtime, dinosaurs are only present on screen for 15 minutes, by far the lowest amount out of the entire Jurassic Park series. And this is crucial because the other time should be dedicated to the main characters, their relationships, drama, themes, motivations, stakes, and arcs. The
Indominus Rex is on screen for 7 minutes 52 seconds.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to ask. How long is it on screen for?
The Indoraptor is on screen for 12 minutes. So his entire point here is lost. Because it's like,
what's he mentioning it for?
Well, what did he think the Indominus and the Indoraptor were in the film for longer? Because if so, then basically that means they have a presence. Like I agree. The Indominus is shown a lot. It's on screen for 7 minutes, so it's on the same sort of screen time as like the Alien or Jaws or whatever. So it's like, but it's not hidden. That's the difference. Like when we say Jaws is on screen, you're seeing like what the tip of its fin out of the water, for the most part. Whereas like the Indominus, you see most of its full body. So if he was making that argument, yeah, I completely agree. Like, but then again, it's like how much of a movie about a dinosaur rampaging through a theme park can you have with not showing it? That would be, I mean, that would be kind of an interesting movie that they constantly following the aftermath of it. But I guess in this modern age, with leaks and stuff, it's virtually impossible. Whereas the Indoraptor, actually, we didn't see that until the beginning of the third act.
Yeah, that's true.
You see its hand coming out of the cage, and you hear about it, and you see it in hologram form and stuff. But they don't really show it until it's revealed right at the end. But then once they do
save it, yeah, they save it up for the end.
Yeah.
So where's he going? Where's he going with this?
Well, but also like, his point does stand for the Spinosaurus. How much screen time is the Spinosaurus on screen for? Let me just
it comes in at like the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, and then it's there for the rest.
Pretty quickly,
Wow. Okay. 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. I'm just having a look on my phone. 3 minutes, 47 seconds. I'm just double checking that includes the river attack sequence. I guess it's actually on screen. Yeah. 3 minutes, 47 seconds, the Spinosaurus is on screen. Isn't that amazing that, like, with such little actual screen time in a movie, its presence can be felt, and you just think, oh, that thing's just out in the open all the time.
It's right there. It could have pop up at any minute, but it's like, that is crazy, that.
These are the aspects that coalesce to make engaging stories, not bigger, scarier dinosaurs. Think about the first time we see a full-size dinosaur in Jurassic Park. Spielberg doesn't
I'm thinking about it.
focus on the dinosaur, he focuses instead on the characters, their emotional reactions, the look of awe on their faces. Because Jurassic Park isn't a film about dinosaurs, it's a film about characters struggling for survival from dinosaurs. A villain is only as good as the characters engaging with it.
But they do show the Brachiosaurus directly after. Like, he shows their reaction, and then he shows the Brachiosaurus in full. It's like,
that's just to build it up, isn't it? That's the to sell the effect that you're about to see. You show the emotional faces of the actors. Yeah, it's like
In Jaws and later Jurassic Park, Spielberg understood this delicate balance. But unfortunately, Spielberg forgot all about this in his sequel, The Lost World. And I believe the third act of The Lost World is the moment Jurassic Park died. From the very beginning of the Jurassic Park series, Spielberg stated how he never wanted to make a monster movie.
Jurassic Park wasn't a monster movie. It was a movie about animals long ago gone extinct that through the miracle of science and technology are brought into the 20th century. And that really fascinated me, and that immediately set my own template for not making this a monster movie.
Monster movies are generally disregarded as a genre because they most commonly consist of monsters attacking flat, boring characters. And while the original Jurassic Park successfully avoided this comparison, the sequels have lost track of what made the first film so dynamic. Now,
I fundamentally just don't agree with that, because The Lost World, in particular, the film that he's saying is the point where the Jurassic Park died, is all about how they're animals.
yeah.
And it talks about their behaviors and stuff, but it's how you actually look at the dinosaurs in the series, because I always look at them as a new type of animal. Like, they're not meant to be exact dinosaurs that existed 65 million years ago, because they've been genetically engineered. And it's right from the very first film where they introduced frog DNA and all that sort of stuff. So there's like one little tiny change has a completely different effect unforeseen. And that's more like the point of the stories. And obviously, by having the dinosaurs be their own sort of thing means the filmmakers can have artistic liberties, like the Dilophosaurus have frill and all that sort of stuff. So when Spielberg was saying, I wanted to make it not a monster movie, but I wanted to make a film about animals, it's like, I think he's talking more about the actual way he frames the dinosaurs more so than that.
Absolutely.
But then, ironically enough, everyone says the first film is the scariest. And like, the way he frames the dinosaurs is in a very terrifying situation that makes them feel like monsters. Like the raptor opening the door, it's like a horror film. Like, it's coming in, like all that sort of stuff. So, who knows what Spielberg really thinks? Like, he's an enigma, that man.
Well, see, something I've heard about The Lost World is that after he made Schindler's List, Spielberg, I think it might have been Frank Marshall who said this, he was like, Spielberg was like depressed, and he was like, he felt like he couldn't go back to making films like blockbusters and family adventure films after making Schindler's List, because it took everything out of him. And he was like, how can I go back to making like films about aliens and fucking dinosaurs and stuff like that after I've made this important film, or whatever. And then it was Frank Marshall who was like, you need to fall in love with the fun films again.
Yeah.
And he said, what would you like to make? What do you want to make that would get that back? And he was like, I've always wanted to make a Godzilla film. And he was like, well, you've got the next best thing. You've got Jurassic Park, you've got the dinosaurs. So maybe that's why he's saying, The Lost World feels more like a monster movie or something compared to the first one because it's Spielberg trying to have fun again with films. I don't know.
Well, yeah, no, that seems legitimate. Like, because even he has the shot of the Japanese businessmen saying we left Japan for this or whatever, or we left Japan to get away from this.
Yeah,
like, and it's meant to be tongue in cheek. And me and Clayton have had this conversation in the past where we said like the dinosaurs. If you're actually talking realism here, none of the dinosaurs in any of the films act like a real animal would ever act, because they act how the filmmakers need them to act for the scenes. Like, that's the long and short of it.
Yeah.
These don't exist. So the way they act is there is a human being animating these dinosaurs. So they're acting in a way that we want them to act. So who knows how, if we're actually going to take Malcolm's words seriously, it's like, who could actually predict what a dinosaur would really be like?
You couldn't, could you? That's the whole thing. Unpredictable. Who knows what they're going to do?
Exactly. But I think they do frame. Okay, so the Jurassic Park films, all of them, frame the dinosaurs as animals, but they're their sort of own animals. Like, they do their own thing. Like, you know, you've got the herbivores grazing, and like the Stegosaurus protecting its young, and like the T-Rex, the shot we're looking at right here, the T-Rex being overtly territorial against another theropod. Like, that's theorized in dinosaur behavior. So it's like it will just attack a giant theropod because territory and whatnot. It's like, and the raptors, you know, in Jurassic World, love them or hate them, they do act more like animals in Jurassic World than they have ever done in any of the other films, because they're going more into their pack dynamic and the alpha, and they go into like wolf almost like behavior. So it's, for me, it's like when they say they act like monsters, it's like, well, in every single film they have moments where they all act like monsters. Like, you know, Sarah Harding going, "Where's the Rex? Is it behind us?" And boom, it smashes through a wall. It's like it's all very Hollywood at times, but then
they become characters with their own little motivation sense.
Yeah, and
drama.
But that doesn't mean they don't have moments where they act. They have the animal moments. Like, all films do. All the 5 films have their moments to various degrees. But the first film, again, has that magic of like they captured that magic in the bottle, which can never be recreated. Of like, and I would argue, because they say sound is 50% of the movie, I think it's always down to sound with Jurassic Park, because the dinosaur sounds in the first film, they feel original every time you listen to the film.
Yeah.
Even if you've heard the T-Rex roar a million times, like when you watch the film, they've heightened the sound. It's really loud. Like, they sound like the Brachiosaurus sounds menacing when it like roars at Grant and Lex, and they all jump at it like, oh my god, like, this thing's like huge. So I think that plays a part of it. Whereas the other films, The Lost World onwards, have always sort of played up the sort of Hollywoodness of it all.
Yeah, and reused the sounds that we've heard before, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of interesting characters wrestling with moral, ethical arguments about the repercussions of playing with science, the series has turned into simple stories of dinosaurs killing uninteresting characters. While rewatching The Lost World, I was surprised to find that it's not as terrible as I once remembered. The scene with the 2 T-Rexes and the camper is as terrifying and expertly crafted as anything in the original film. But I have to say that the turning point in the entire series happens in the 3rd act, when the T-Rex terrorizes San Diego. The original ending for The Lost World consisted of the main characters fleeing the island in the helicopter and then battling pterodactyls in a climactic action sequence. But then, Spielberg decided to change the ending.
I called Dave and I said, "Hey, let's throw out the whole last act and let's just all the way
throw it out.
Bring the T-Rex back to America." So kind of on a whim, we worked that into the story and ended the picture, in the U.S.
Changing the ending on a whim not only resulted in a mediocre
I like that, though.
product. For instance, there was a whole scripted section about raptors killing the entire crew of the ship transporting the T-Rex, which was never filmed. But
or ever scripted. I think that's fake news. I don't think that was ever scripted. The raptors on the boat. So just to get this, from what I understood of this video when I watched it before, it's like the guy has some points that are interesting. However, he doesn't really like go into any detail about what he really means. He says he doesn't want the dinosaurs to be like monster movies, but then he says he misses the original ending, which was pteranodons attacking a helicopter, which is very monster-like.
It's like he just doesn't like the San Diego sequence, which I know is a lot of people always say, oh, it's kind of cheesy, and there's a lot of cheesy stuff in there. I don't know.
And also on a whim, I find when Spielberg, I'm going to go against Spielberg here. When Spielberg says they changed the ending on a whim, right? I don't think they'd filmed all the other bits of the film when they made that decision. Like the way a lot of people, I get the sense that a lot of people think of it as like, you know, they've just done finishing filming the raptors attacking them in the village sequence, and then they're like, right, we're now going to move on to the pteranodon sequence, and then they're like, hang on a second, let's change it. It's like, well, there's story points to do with San Diego that are all the way back at the beginning of the movie. You know, with the guy going, you know, Malcolm not being believed by the public and all this sort of stuff. It's like, and the whole Rex behavior thing, you know, taking the baby from the nest and the parents come along, and that's how they use to get the T-Rex back to the boat. It's like, it's more intertwined into the story than a whim, in my opinion. I think when Spielberg says they changed on a whim, I think he's talking about the writing phase more so than...
Yeah, it was always the plan.
Or at least the storyboard phase.
They changed it in the writing phase, yeah.
Because two things can be true at once, right? The storyboards for the Pteranodon sequence and the script writing could be happening simultaneously. So we have storyboards, but that doesn't mean they were actually going to film them. They had maquettes, and they were doing... Because films have to have a lot of cogs turning at the same time, you know. But
yeah.
So I think a lot of people put like a lot of weight on the whole whim side of it. Like, oh, they just flimsily changed the ending. It's like, well, no, it wasn't that simple. There's a lot that goes in. You have to planning. They have to rig a bus up that implodes. There's so much stuff that goes into this that's well in advance of actual cameras rolling that it would have been planned well earlier than you thought. But that's my own assumption, that they think the whim means happening then and there on set.
Yet, we still saw the pieces of their dismembered bodies, which never made sense. And Nick, played by Vince Vaughn...
One hand we saw. The rest of the body still makes sense.
But you just see that one hand, so it's like... Well, what was he saying? You don't see the dismembered bodies.
Yeah, he said we see dismembered bodies all over the deck, so that means raptors were on there at one point. And it's like, well... No, we see bodies, yes, but the only one that doesn't make any sense is the severed hand on the wheel, because the cabin's not smashed. Although, if he was to look into the storyboards of the San Diego sequence, you can see the whole cabin is smashed on one side. So it kind of underpins that the T-Rex is the one that's meant to have eaten him, but they didn't show it properly. I look at the hand on the wheel as the same as the moat in the first film. It's like it's just a bit awkwardly filmed, so it's like it just doesn't.
Yeah,
you know.
I've always thought it was the T-Rex, the Rex that did it. But
I don't know where the source of this whole raptor on the boat comes from. Never been able to discover it.
Vaughn, the game hunter, and Malcolm's daughter are completely absent from the third act, without any character arc or meaningful resolution. But larger than those issues...
Oh, everything he's saying. Roland Tembo has an arc when he leaves the film. He said the big game hunter leaves the film with no arc. Come on, that's just wrong. That's just wrong. Granted, Kelly leaves the film with an arc. She saved Malcolm, and school cut you from the team. You might not like it, but hey.
Yeah, like and then she's at the end. She does come back in, but
yeah. But like, granted, Nick Van Owen does leave.
Yeah, he just fucking disappears, doesn't he? But...
Spielberg lost sight of his entire mission behind the Jurassic Park series. It was no longer about the characters and science. It had devolved into a monster movie. And it sounds like Spielberg slowly realized this during production of The Lost World. I beat myself up, growing more and more impatient with myself. It made me wistful about doing a talking picture, because sometimes I got the feeling I was just making this big silent roar movie. I found myself saying, is that all there is? It's not enough for me. And that's exactly how I feel when I watch every Jurassic Park sequel. Is that all there is? It's not enough for me. It's disappointing because every subsequent film feels like a wasted opportunity for something.
Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself.
Truly unique and special. But until the creators realize how to effectively interject spectacle and suspense into the Jurassic Park films once again, I'm afraid that this endangered franchise will eventually become extinct.
Ooh, spooky.
Oh shit.
Oh, damn.
This video is sponsored.
There we go. So,
Well, yeah, I don't really. Feels like a bit of a waste of time. I'm going to be honest.
the day Jurassic Park died was the day Spielberg decided, on a whim, to change the ending of The Lost World.
And that's why I don't like videos like this, because it's a nice one. You get to the end, it's like, yep, thumbs up, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, half this video is actually just this. Oh god, it's just this.
You went to the way.
I just wanted to know if he had to say anything else, but no, it's just literally the advert, whatever he's promoting. Yeah, no, I mean, seems like a nice guy. Don't want to go say anything negative about him, but like that video.
I think he's an asshole.
But I think I think this video is lacking. Let's put it that way. When I watch this video, I think, is that all there is? There's no suspense. There's no.
Like, I agree with a lot of what he's saying, but it's like, like, oh, they can't recapture the magic of the first film. It's like, well, no, but it's, why would you want to? Why you can't do that?
You can't. That's
So
that's
you
what
have to
I'm
do
always
something
saying.
else. You have to do something interesting with this, with the elements that you've got, and just bringing Grant back isn't them rehashing the first film. It's like he's just a character. Bring the T-Rex back or whatever.
They're just elements in the universe that you can use. They're just tools. They're tools in your toolbox. What do you want to use to craft the story? The only thing that, like, bringing Alan Grant back is not rehashing the first film. Having him have a dig site that needs funding, that he goes to the island. Well, he goes to the island basically because he wants more funding for his dig site. Yes, that is rehashing a specific point from the plot. But the rest is different for the most part. He does get lost on an island with a kid again, but but that's only very short. Like, they stay in a truck overnight and then the next morning they meet up with the parents again. It's like, okay, we're back onto the different story now.
It's like it's like, what does he want? What does he expect? Like, you're making a sequel. It's like you said, these are all just characters and tools and settings, and it's all just stuff to play with. It's not, as long as you're not reusing the same ideas or the same like plot points. That's when you get into like you say, the Force Awakens territory and all that.
Oh god.
Like, I'm thinking of, I can't think of a sequel that hasn't just taken some element or taken even some, like, I guess it would be an idea, and reused it or built upon it in some way. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, I would say, is probably the sequel that is at least like the previous film.
Yeah.
And I think it's more power to it.
Empire Strikes Back is another example that a lot of people go to because it's so fundamentally different from the first film, but feels like a good continuation of that world. See, this is where I always come down to, like, the balance of that sequels have to play with, and it's like, so, and people who watch my videos would be like, oh, he's talking about this again. It's like, sequels are fine if they reuse the same elements and ideas, as long as the context is different. Like, so I always go back to because if I say what are the best sequels in the world, 9 times out of 10 people say Terminator 2, Aliens, right? 2 James Cameron films. They say those two. So then we go into those films specifically and we say, okay, well, Terminator 2 is about a Terminator sent back to kill John Connor, and we have a few truck chases down, or someone sent back to look after John Connor, and someone is sent to kill him, and we have some truck chases down some chrome-laden, like, American freeways, and we end up basically in a factory where they duke it out, right? And one character has to sacrifice themselves to kill the Terminator. Well, that's exactly the same as Terminator 1. If you boil it down, that's exactly the same. But it's the context is different. And I always use Aliens as another one because that's the most prominent example I've been able to find of, like, a film that is universally loved. Like, absolutely loved, myself included. However,
is a great example of a sequel. Yeah.
Great example of a sequel. However, like, it ends with Ripley blowing up, or the base is blown up. Ripley escapes. She has to go back for someone, whether it's her cat in the first film or Newt in the second film. And then she escapes, and she...
They think they're okay.
They think they're okay. The alien appears, and Ripley has to go into a cupboard, suit up, whether she's in her, just a space suit with the harpoon gun in the first film, or if it's the power loader in Alien. She comes out, she battles the alien and blasts it out of the airlock, and then goes to sleep. It's the exact, if you boil it down to those elements, it's the exact same ideas playing out, but the context of how you got there is completely different. And so, like, that, whenever they do that sort of thing, in this modern age, I see a lot of films. We'll take Fallen Kingdom, for example, where everyone says, a lot of the detractors of that film, like, who I think are, like, being a bit disingenuous if they love aliens, and then they have this example of Fallen Kingdom. It's like, and they say things like, it's just a copy of The Lost World. It's like, well, if you say that, I can say that Aliens is just a copy of Alien. And then you'll be like, well, no, it's not. And it's like, well, yeah, so Fallen Kingdom isn't either. But why, you have to go more specific as to why you don't like it, because I'm willing to hear any argument and all that sort of stuff to do with it, because I'm interested in hearing other people's opinion. But saying it's just a copy of The Lost World makes no sense. But the good example I always bring up from Fallen Kingdom is to show the equivalent of the end of Aliens to Alien is the gyrosphere in the ocean sequence, because that is almost a remake of the trailer over the cliff sequence from The Lost World, but there's a couple of different elements at play. Everything's switched. In The Lost World, they don't want to go over the cliff. They're hanging on. They don't want the glass to break. Whereas in Fallen Kingdom, they go straight over the cliff and they want the glass to break. So it's like you've got these different elements at play, or like parallel opposite ideas at play with the same sort of scenario.
Spinning it on its head, that stuff's cool.
And that's, for me, that's what makes a good sequel, because we're seeing the same thing again, but the context is different, and it's interesting how they can actually do that. And that's why I think, here's a great example of a film that does this and knows that it's doing it at the same time, right? All three Back to the Future films, or the Back to the Future sequels, they do this perfectly, because they do the same exact scenario of Marty McFly going round the town square on his skateboard or a hoverboard or being dragged by a horse, only to end up with Biff landing in a load of manure at some point in the film. And they do the whole, like, he wakes up and he's like, oh, Mom, I had a terrible dream. And then he's like, he's not in his same time when she turns the light on. Like, the same elements are there, but the context is completely different. And that's what makes good sequels in my mind. Whereas there are... Absolutely. And there are, like, examples, like I said, like you brought up Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and I said Empire Strikes Back. There are those sequels that are just so different from their originals, but
it still works,
works in a completely different way, So, and I think that, and I don't want to put words into people's mouths, but I'm assuming here that when people complain about the way sequels work in rehashing ideas, it's like they want, like, let's say they want Fallen Kingdom, for example, to be like Empire Strikes Back was to Star Wars, when it's like, well, I don't think you're going to get that in this type of movie. Like, this type of movie is completely, like, different. And Star Wars set the bar back in the 80s because there was no bar at that time. So, like, they just made this one film, and that's why Star Wars is such the cultural phenomenon that it is because of this one film that just shocked the world. As a sequel, well, it's the first film. The first film shocked the world, but the Empire Strikes Back was the sequel that no one was expecting, and then they got that and was like, ooh, and everyone's basically just trying to reach that bar. It's like, again, it's like we're trying to recapture the magic, and I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, it's a funny situation, like you say, the sequel situation. Like, I'm trying to think of like if you take it way back, like sequels to like Dracula and the sequels, like what did they do?
Well, I mean,
like Bride of Frankenstein. That's kind of
I would put Bride of Frankenstein in the same category as Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Because they don't. There wasn't a scene of Frankenstein smoking a cigar going, good, in the first film. As far as I can remember. True. It's like they definitely changed elements of it. And I guess, actually, here's a good example. Almost every film in the Universal Library of Horror Films ends with like a windmill on fire. They're all around it with pitchforks. You've got to get the pitchforks out and come rushing out.
Yeah.
Take down the monster. Son of Kong. There's a good example as well. Back in 1933. It's very difficult to... Well, it's very interesting to compare these sequels back in the day when sound even just became a new thing. Because we're talking about like they're experimenting at this time. But Son of Kong was the sequel to King Kong. Came out the exact same year as the first film. Because the first film was such a success, they were like, we need to do this now. And obviously, at this time, studios hadn't got grips on how to do sequels properly. So they went, okay, well, get the sequel out in 9 months. So they worked their asses off, and by the end of that year, Son of Kong came out. And there's the only real sort of rehashy ideas in that movie are, if you have to boil it down, it's just humans go to an island, discover an ape fights monsters. That's it. But there's elements in there that are completely different. Like it follows Carl Denham because he regrets what he did to King Kong, so he's looking for some sort of redemption. And then he makes friends with Son of Kong, and then at the end of the film, Son of Kong saves Carl Denham as the island sinks. And the last thing you see is Son of Kong placing Carl Denham back on the boat. It's almost like a Terminator 2 scenario. You see the hand.
Yeah, it's very similar. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so it's like... Yeah, I don't know if there's... I guess with modern movies, it's like you can kind of do more comparisons because they've sort of honed their craft more. Whereas in older films, it's like they were just sort of doing whatever because, one, VHS didn't exist, so they thought, people will go see these films and they'll forget about them, and then some new people go see these ones and they might not have seen the first one at all. And they have no access to see them.
Yeah.
Whereas in like the 80s and the 90s, and now, like we have access to everything. So that's why more and more people are like, I've seen this idea before. It's like, of course you have. It's like, because it's everywhere. I don't know. It's interesting. Anyway, yeah.
It's also another thing is that, especially with like your superhero movies, they're just it's like a constant thing of like hinting at the next sequel and look, what could this possibly mean? You know, wait for the sequel. Like now it's, I mean, I don't think Jurassic Park really leaves it open for a sequel. I guess it's certainly not to the extent that something like a Marvel film does. But
no, I mean,
it's like sequels in general. It's like even going back to all of like the stories that humans tell. It's like people generally want more. Like you've got the great novels. I mean, I guess there was no sequel. She didn't write a sequel to Frankenstein, but.
Well, it's if someone creates a world that people love visiting, and they want to know what else is happening or what happens next, and there's always a demand for it, which is like fair enough. You know, there's no reason why you shouldn't want more. But then when it comes to like films or even books and stuff, you could be like, well, this story I think works really well on its own. And you don't really need to know what happens next because it makes it more powerful not knowing what happens next, which could be argued for every single movie ever made.
That's true. I mean, look, a few years ago, I would have said that was, Blade Runner doesn't need a sequel. Don't touch Blade Runner.
Exactly. But look what you'd have been missing out on.
And not only is it a great sequel, but it makes watching the original better. So it's like, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
I guess this guy just didn't feel that way.
Yeah, sequels can enhance. I do argue, though, with Jurassic specifically, that you can watch every single film individually. If you were to like watch every film and pretend in your mind that the others just don't exist, and obviously like Jurassic Park 3 is called something different because you'd be like, where the hell's 1 and 2? But but they actually do all work as individual movies. There's only a couple of elements that undoes this argument. which I've been able to pinpoint. One, in Fallen Kingdom, Sauna gets name dropped. If you didn't know any of the other films, that film would work only if you didn't know two things. Well, if Sauna wasn't mentioned, and if who Ian Malcolm was explained a little bit more.
This guy, what's the significance?
What's the significance of seeing this one guy on screen? Because his name's on a placard, so you've got his name in that film, so you know he's called Dr. Ian Malcolm or Dr. Malcolm. So it's like, but why he's so specific is, is left out. So that's the only thing that undoes that argument. But the other films, and for the majority of Fallen Kingdom, you don't need the other films to understand what you're seeing, because let's say we have no other Jurassic Park movie, right, other than Jurassic Park 3, right? In this hellish landscape where there's only one Jurassic Park film, and it's
the
Jurassic
worst
Park
possible
3.
reality.
Mm-hmm. In that film, I guess there's this one. Actually, no, there is an element in that one when he's like, "Have you read Malcolm's book?" You'd be like, "Who the fuck is Malcolm? Who's Malcolm?" I get.
It just looked like a plot error, wouldn't it?
And also when he says the incident in San Diego.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe my point here is crumbling before my eyes, like sand in my hands.
It's like it'd work, but he'd be like, they just mentioned something that, and then didn't explain. It'd be like watching a Tommy Wiseau film. They'd be like, who's this Malcolm character? Mentioning Sauna, and then it's never addressed, and it's like.
Well, like my point basically was like, for example, take out the Ian Malcolm book moment from Jurassic Park 3, just for the sake of argument. In that film, we know Grant is a paleontologist, and we know that there was an island. There's a mysterious island, because at the beginning you see the mist, and then you see all blood, and you're like, what the hell's going on this island? Like, what's going on? And they've got this ride called Dinosaur. Then we fade to a kid playing with toy dinosaurs, and you're like, oh, okay, got to be dinosaurs on those islands, but how did they get there? The film explains it later on when they're like, this is how you play God, and it's like what John Hammond and Ninja did at Jurassic Park is create.
Oh yeah, they lay it all out. Yeah,
they give you some context as like, okay, these dinosaurs were genetically engineered. So obviously you wouldn't have any of the like specifics of like the amber stuff, but if it's a B movie, you wouldn't really have any of that anyway. You'd just be like, yeah, they cloned dinosaurs. Same with like The Lost World. It's like The Lost World gives enough context of like what Jurassic Park was, because you don't need to see the first film to fully understand that they have this island full of cloned dinosaurs. But then again, do they even mention they're cloned in The Lost World though? Can't remember.
I don't know. Don't think so.
But I guess this doesn't work, because then Malcolm would be like, I thought no, it does work, because he says, I thought you bred them lysine deficient, and that they would kick after 7 days. And then so the context is all there. And even when like Nick Van Owen backs into the wall and he turns around and sees the mural, you get a hint at like the past. So if you didn't have that first film, you'd be like, ooh, I want to see that movie. Like,
that's interesting. Yeah.
And then, because I was thinking about this, like Jurassic World, that's really easy to do with this. So that just works on its own. You don't need anything to understand that film. Like it explains it all. Even the original park, like, because even Lowry's like, oh, people died there, and it was, but that first park was legit. And then we do see the first park later on when the
ruins of the park, yeah.
You see the ruins of it and all that. You don't need to know like the specifics of how it failed to know it just failed, because even Masrani, like Claire says, we have the best structural engineers, and he's like, so did Hammond. So you're like, oh, something went wrong. And then in Fallen Kingdom, it's like you see the Indominus bone at the beginning, and even Mills later on in the film says like Indominus Rex was the thing that brought down Jurassic World, and we see the ruins of the park and all that. So you don't need to see the first film to understand what even the Indominus Rex was. It's like this, if you didn't have the other film, it'd just be this mysterious hybrid skeleton thing that's under the water, and it'd have all this mystery around it. It's almost like the space jockey in Alien kind of thing. It's like, oh, okay, I get what that is, but I don't know anything about it. like specifically. But anyway, yeah, my argument kind of falls apart when we start bringing up Malcolm and Sauna and all that sort of stuff, because
it's interesting though.
But yeah, I think like maybe 98% of the films work. 100% for the first film in Jurassic World. You don't need to watch anything else to understand what's going on in those films. But the other sequels, they do work without actual knowledge of anything other outside of the movies, except for specifics like what is Sauna, who is Malcolm, what's the significance of Malcolm's book.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I guess that's another thing where it's like I'm struggling to think of a sequel that just jumps straight in, and it's like you're left asking questions.
It'd be like Two Towers. You're talking about like Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. Yeah,
absolutely.
That is where they like just jump straight in.
You would have a fucking clue what was going on. Can you imagine if you showed someone them out of order? Like, this is the first one, and you put like Two Towers on. Then you went to Fellowship.
Oh my god,
what's going on here?
You go Return of the King, Fellowship, Two Towers. That's the order.
Oh, what's happened to Gandalf's nice white robes? Now he's wearing this grey shit.
Oh man. Anyway, right, I'm gonna end this video here. Cheers for doing this with me, man.
Right, cool. It was a laugh. It was fun.
Yeah, and I will speak to you soon, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this video. Bye bye.
See you later.